At 4:38 in the morning, Rachel Westmoreland had already answered 23 questions, rejected 4 shades of fake blood, located a missing pair of surgical clogs, and informed a production assistant that no, under absolutely no circumstances could they substitute a 42 long lab coat for a 42 regular simply because both were white. They are not the same. The young man blinked at her. They look the same. Rachel slowly lifted her eyes from the continuity binder in her hands. They look the same to you. He swallowed. Right. Dr. Mercer has a 2-page walk and talk before he enters the operating room. If that coat hits him 2 inches below where it hit him during the camera test, somebody on the internet will freeze frame it, put the images side by side, and ask why his coat grew overnight. The production assistant stared. Rachel smiled. Welcome to television. He laughed nervously. So, find the regular? Now you're producing. He hurried away. Rachel returned to the tablet propped beside an open makeup case. The soundstage around her was coming alive in layers. Rolling wardrobe racks clicked across concrete floors. Steamers hissed. Someone tested the illuminated mirrors along the makeup stations. 2 assistant makeup artists discussed a prosthetic laceration for episode 3, while Rachel's wardrobe supervisor shouted across the adjoining room for somebody to locate a navy scrub top in a medium long. Beyond the open double doors, electricians and grips moved through a cavernous Los Angeles soundstage built to resemble the emergency department of one of the most prestigious hospitals in America. At least that was what the audience was supposed to believe. Rachel knew the truth. Half the walls didn't have backs. One elevator opened onto plywood. The trauma bay ended 6 feet beyond what the camera could see, and the expensive marble nurses' station was laminate. Hollywood. She loved it. She checked the time. 4:42. 18 minutes until principal cast call. Rachel closed her tablet. Marisol? Her key makeup artist looked over. Yeah? Did Sloane's hair team confirm? Already here. They're setting up in 3. Good. What about Adrian? His personal groomer dropped off his products last night. Rachel glanced toward the largest empty chair in the room. There was a white card taped beneath the mirror. Adrian Kwon, even printed on cheap production cardstock, the name looked expensive. Marisol followed her gaze. You excited? Rachel looked at her. About what? Marisol's mouth opened. Rachel waited. Then Marisol laughed. Oh, come on. What? You know what? Rachel reached for a row of pallets. No, I don't. You have Adrian Kwon sitting in your chair in 18 minutes. Technically, he'll be sitting in Jamal's chair. I'm supervising. You're doing his camera-ready look this morning. Because Jamal is finishing the background continuity board. Exactly. Rachel began arranging brushes by size. Marisol leaned one hip against the counter. Rachel. What? Adrian Kwon. I can read. The Adrian Kwon. Rachel looked at her again. Is there another one on the call sheet? Marisol laughed so loudly, one of the hairstylists looked over. Rachel allowed herself a smile. Of course she knew who Adrian Kwon was. Everybody knew who Adrian Kwon was. For more than a decade, his face had been attached to some of Hollywood's most successful movies. He had survived an action franchise, 2 prestige dramas, a romantic comedy that still appeared on cable every Valentine's Day, 3 award season campaigns, and enough magazine covers to wallpaper the inside of the soundstage. He was handsome. That wasn't exactly classified information. Rachel had eyes. She had also spent 15 years learning that beautiful actors still sweated under lights, spilled coffee on expensive clothing, forgot continuity instructions, hated prosthetic adhesive, and occasionally arrived 40 minutes late because someone had convinced them that call times were suggestions. Adrian Kwon was not walking into her department as Hollywood's most eligible bachelor. He was walking into her department as cast number 1, and Rachel had spent too many years fighting for the chair she now occupied to forget the difference. This was her first production at this level, not her first show, not her first film, not her first department, but her first time overseeing both makeup and wardrobe coordination on a network streaming production whose pilot budget had reportedly exceeded $15 million. Executives had flown in from New York. The studio had already ordered billboards. The trailer for the medical drama hadn't even been released, and entertainment sites were calling it the most anticipated television event of the fall. Everybody associated with the production knew what success could mean. Rachel certainly did. One successful season could change the trajectory of her career. One disastrous season could change it too. She had no intention of discovering the second possibility. "Rachel," she turned. Her wardrobe supervisor held up two nearly identical navy scrub tops. "Hero set or duplicate?" "Hero has the reinforced mic opening." "This one?" Rachel stepped over, checked the inside seam, and nodded. "That's it. Duplicate goes on rack B, and somebody please make sure Adrian doesn't walk off set wearing the hero pants after lunch." A male voice behind her said, "I haven't even arrived yet, and I'm already being accused of stealing pants." The room changed. It didn't become silent. Not exactly. But Rachel felt the shift before she turned. Conversation dipped. Someone near the doorway stopped mid-sentence. Marisol straightened. Rachel closed her eyes for half a second. "Of course." She turned. Adrian Kwon stood just inside the makeup department. Apparently photographs had undersold him. That was irritating. He was tall enough that the doorway framed him rather than swallowed him. Black trousers, black crewneck sweater, dark wool coat open at the front, no visible logo anywhere. His hair was thick, jet black, slightly tousled in a way Rachel suspected had required considerably more effort than it appeared to. And his face? Well, there were reasons entire marketing departments had been built around it. Strong jaw, high cheekbones, dark eyes that seemed almost lazy until they landed directly on someone. At the moment, they were landed directly on Rachel. He smiled. Not a full smile, just enough. She immediately understood why interviewers lost their place in their notes around him. Rachel folded her arms. "Were you planning to steal the pants?" His smile widened slightly. "Depends. Are they nice?" "They're navy polyester." "Then probably not." "Good. We've solved our first problem." Something flickered in his eyes. Amusement. He extended a hand. "Adrian." Rachel looked at it before taking it. "Rachel Westmoreland." His grip was warm and firm. "I know." That made her pause. "You know?" "You're running the department." "Departments." "Right. Makeup and wardrobe." His eyes briefly moved over her, not in a way she could call inappropriate. That almost made it worse. Rachel had dressed for a 14-hour production day. Wide-leg black trousers, fitted rust-colored knit top, soft leather utility jacket, comfortable boots. Bronze bangles circled one wrist, a hammered silver cuff hugged the other. A small cowrie shell rested among the layered chains at her throat. Her short hair had taken 7 minutes and a little curl cream. Her face had taken 11. Priorities. Adrian's attention returned to her eyes. "I've heard good things." "From?" "People." "Very specific." "I protect my sources." Rachel released his hand. "I'll alert the press." The corner of his mouth moved. Behind him, a man Rachel recognized as his assistant stood holding 2 coffees and trying very hard not to look entertained. Adrian glanced toward the makeup chair. "Am I here?" "You are." He removed his coat and handed it backward without looking. His assistant took it automatically. Rachel noticed that. Years of practice. Adrian sat. Rachel stepped behind him and studied his reflection in the mirror. He looked at her through it. "You seem disappointed." Rachel reached for a disposable headband. "About?" "Me." "Why would I be disappointed?" "I don't know. You looked at me like you were expecting someone taller." Rachel stared at his reflection. "You're 6'3". His eyebrows lifted. "You know my height." "Wardrobe knows everyone's height." That sounded less exciting than I hoped. "It was intended to." Marisol abruptly became extremely interested in organizing lip pencils. Rachel caught her hiding a smile. Adrian noticed too. He leaned back slightly. "So this is going to be difficult." Rachel secured the band around his hairline. "What is?" "Getting anybody in this room to take my side. You have an assistant. He's paid to take my side." His assistant spoke from behind them. "Not enough." Rachel laughed before she could stop herself. Adrian's eyes found hers in the mirror. There, that look. Not triumphant, interested. Rachel immediately reached for moisturizer. "Close your eyes." He did. No argument, no flirtatious question. Just closed them. Rachel applied product across his forehead and cheeks, checking his skin beneath the mirror lights. Good texture. Slight dryness near the jaw. A little fatigue beneath the eyes, but nothing dramatic. Late night? His eyes remained closed. Dinner ran long. Drinking? 1 glass of wine. Water? Some. Rachel made a doubtful sound. His mouth curved. "You disapprove?" "I don't care enough to disapprove. I need your skin hydrated." That was harsh. That was moisturizer. Marisol turned away altogether. Rachel worked quickly. This close, Adrian was even more photogenic, which seemed fundamentally unfair. Most extraordinarily attractive people had at least one feature that became less perfect under magnification. A crooked pore pattern, an uneven brow, a strange hairline. Something. Adrian simply looked human up close rather than less handsome. That might actually be worse. She blended lightly beneath his eyes. He opened them. Rachel immediately stopped. "I didn't tell you to open them." "I thought you were finished." "You thought incorrectly." "Bossy." "Employed." That earned a quiet laugh. Rachel touched 2 fingers beneath his chin. "Look up." He did. She turned his face slightly. "Left." He turned left. "Other left." He looked at her. Rachel stared back. He smiled. "You did that on purpose." "Wanted to see whether you were listening." "And?" "Jury's out." She returned his face to center. For the next 12 minutes, Rachel worked while Adrian mostly behaved himself. Mostly. He asked questions. Not the ones actors usually asked. He didn't ask whether the contour made his jaw look stronger. Didn't ask whether his skin looked tired. Didn't complain that the foundation felt heavy. Instead, "How long have you been doing this?" "Long enough." "That isn't a number." 15 years professionally." "And this?" He gestured vaguely around them. "This level?" Rachel understood. She capped a concealer. First time leading something this large. His expression changed. Not pity, not surprise, just attention. "Big morning." "Yes." "Nervous?" Rachel met his eyes in the mirror. "No." He waited. She smiled. "Terrified." He laughed. "So you do have feelings?" "Occasionally." I was beginning to wonder. Rachel reached for a powder brush. "Don't get attached to them." His gaze held hers. That half smile appeared again. "I'll try." Something about the way he said it landed differently than the rest of his teasing. Rachel looked away first. Annoying. She powdered his forehead. "Done." "That fast? You wanted an hour?" "I've had people take an hour." They were padding their invoice. Adrian laughed again. Rachel removed the band protecting his hair. His hairstylist stepped forward to finish him. Rachel moved toward wardrobe. "White coat in 5, Adrian called after her. "Rachel." She turned. He looked at her through the mirror. "Good luck today." For the first time, there was no teasing in his face. Rachel's expression softened. "Thank you." He nodded once. She walked away. Only after she reached the wardrobe area did she notice Marisol had followed her. Rachel stopped. "What?" Marisol stared. "What?" "You know exactly what." Rachel continued walking. "He's nice." "Nice?" "Yes." Marisol nearly tripped over a garment rack. "Rachel Westmoreland, that man looked at you like, 'Finish that sentence and I'm assigning you background blood continuity for the entire season.'" Marisol closed her mouth. Rachel pointed at her. "Smart woman." At 5:37, Sloane Carlyle arrived. Sloane did not create the same shift in the room Adrian had. She created a different one. Where Adrian entered as though he'd forgotten people might stare, Sloane entered looking as though she had learned years ago how to make being stared at appear effortless. Champagne blonde hair fell in loose waves beneath a camel coat. Oversized sunglasses hid most of her face, despite the fact that the sun wouldn't rise for another hour. She carried a cream leather bag large enough to require its own production credit. Rachel had met her twice during fittings. Both times Sloane had been gracious. Both times Rachel had liked her. "Morning." Sloane removed her sunglasses. Blue-gray eyes immediately found Rachel. "There she is." Rachel smiled. "Good morning. I need you to tell me you solved the scrub problem." "I solved the scrub problem." Sloane put one hand over her chest. "This is why I love you. You've known me 4 days. I'm decisive." Rachel took her coat. "You're in 3. "I know, but first—" Sloane leaned closer. "Is he here?" Rachel didn't need clarification. "Yes." Sloane's smile became playful. "And? And what? Is he really that handsome at 5 in the morning?" Rachel turned toward the garment rack. "Yes." Sloane laughed. "Oh, thank God. Imagine doing 12 episodes pretending otherwise." Rachel smiled despite herself. "He's in hair." "Have you met before?" "No." "And?" Rachel glanced at her. "Why does everybody keep asking me that?" "Because women have been discussing Adrian Kwon's face since approximately 2012. "I was busy." "Doing what?" "Working." Sloane studied her for a second, then laughed. "I like you." "Let's preserve that relationship. Go to makeup." "Yes, boss." Sloane started away, then turned. "Rachel?" "Yes?" "If they put us in those hideous teal surgical caps from the screen test, I'm walking." "You're under contract." "I'll walk slowly." Rachel laughed. Sloane disappeared into Makeup 3. For the next 2 hours, Rachel didn't think about Adrian Kwon. That fact would later become important, because Adrian Kwon thought about her. "Places!" The assistant director's voice echoed through stage 12. Rachel stood just beyond the bank of monitors as the first scene of the new series prepared to roll. The hospital set gleamed beneath production lighting. Adrian stood at the center of it in navy scrubs and a white physician coat. Sloane stood across from him wearing slate blue scrubs beneath her own coat. They looked exactly as the network had hoped they would. Beautiful, expensive, believable. Rachel checked Adrian's coat length. Correct. Sloane's sleeve. Correct. Makeup continuity. Correct. She stepped backward. "Pictures up!" The stage quieted. "Roll sound." "Speed." "Camera." "Rolling." The slate snapped. "Scene 14, Apple. Take 1. Marker." The director leaned forward. "And action." Adrian changed. Rachel had seen it happen with good actors before. The physical body remained the same. Everything else shifted. The casual humor disappeared from his face. His shoulders settled. His eyes sharpened. Suddenly he wasn't Adrian Kwon, international movie star. He was Dr. Alexander Mercer, cardiothoracic surgeon, standing in the middle of an emergency department after losing a patient. Sloane approached him. Their dialogue began. Rachel watched the wardrobe. That was her job. The turn of his coat, the fold in Sloane's sleeve, whether the stethoscope moved between takes. She didn't watch the chemistry. Other people were paid to worry about that. "Cut!" The director stood. "Good. Very good. Let's reset." The stage erupted. Rachel moved immediately. She reached Adrian first. "Don't move." He stopped. She straightened the collar of his white coat. "What happened?" "Your collar rolled. My character is emotionally devastated." "Your character can be emotionally devastated with a flat collar." He looked down at her. Rachel smoothed it. There were only 5 inches between their heights, less with her boots, which meant she didn't have to crane her neck much to look at him. His gaze settled on her face. She noticed, ignored it. "Stethoscope." He handed it to her. Rachel repositioned it. Sloane stood several feet away getting powder reapplied. Adrian said quietly, "Do you watch every take?" "When I can." "So you'll see my entire performance?" "I'll see your clothes." "That is devastating." Rachel glanced up. "You're going to survive." "I hope so. We're only on episode 1. She almost smiled. Almost. Then the assistant director called, "Clear!" Rachel stepped away. Adrian remained where he was. "Rachel," she looked back. "Yes?" "Lunch." "What about it?" "Have it with me." It took Rachel a moment to realize what he'd said, then another to decide whether she was amused. "You've been here 3 hours. I work quickly." "So do I." "Good. Noon?" "No." The answer came so easily that Adrian actually blinked. Rachel turned and walked behind the monitors. "Rachel," she kept going, "was that a scheduling no or an Adrian Kwon no?" Without turning around, Rachel called back, "Yes." A crew member coughed into his hand. Someone else suddenly found the floor fascinating. Rachel reached her station. She could feel Adrian staring at her. She refused to look. The director called everyone back to places. Rachel checked her tablet. Call sheet, continuity, episode breakdown, anything except the 6'3" problem standing in the middle of her set. Across the room, Sloane Carlyle watched Adrian, then followed the direction of his gaze. Her eyes landed on Rachel. For just a moment, her expression was unreadable. Then someone spoke to her. Sloane smiled, bright, polished, perfect, and the moment disappeared. Rachel never saw it. Neither did Adrian. The cameras began rolling again, and Rachel Westmoreland went back to work. By 11:30, Rachel had forgotten Adrian Kwon had asked her to lunch. That was not an exaggeration. At 8:17, one of Sloane Carlyle's scrub tops had disappeared between wardrobe and stage 12. At 8:42, a background actor spilled coffee down the front of a white coat 5 minutes before cameras rolled. At 9:06, Rachel discovered that the prosthetic department had used the wrong reference photograph for a patient's surgical incision. At 9:31, Adrian's stunt double arrived wearing shoes that made him nearly an inch taller than Adrian. That had created an argument. Rachel had won. At 10:12, one of the network executives requested a last-minute adjustment to Sloane's hair because apparently someone in New York had decided her physician character looked too glamorous. Sloane had taken the news remarkably well. Her hairstylist had not. And at 11:24, Rachel was standing behind a rolling wardrobe rack eating half a blueberry muffin because she had forgotten breakfast existed. That's depressing. Rachel looked around. Adrian stood on the other side of the rack. She continued chewing. "What is?" He pointed at the muffin. "That." Rachel looked down at it. "It's food." "Debatable. It has blueberries." "That doesn't automatically make something food." Rachel swallowed. "How did you find me?" "I followed the trail of frightened production assistants." She gave him a look. His mouth curved. He had changed out of the white coat and was wearing navy scrubs, which Rachel had already decided were going to cause unnecessary problems for everyone involved in promoting the show. They fit him too well, not because wardrobe had done anything inappropriate, because Adrian Kwon had apparently been built specifically to make ordinary clothing look expensive. Rachel took another bite. "Aren't you supposed to be at lunch?" "I am." "You're here." "Very observant." "It's part of my job." He glanced toward the muffin again. "Come eat." Rachel stared at him. "We discussed this." "No. I asked you to have lunch with me, and you said no." "Correct. I'm asking you to eat actual food. With you. There will probably be other people." "Probably?" He smiled. Rachel folded the muffin wrapper closed. "Adrian." Something about her tone made him stop teasing. "Yes?" "I am not going to date you." He blinked once. Rachel appreciated that, not because she wanted to embarrass him, because for the first time all morning, Adrian Kwon looked genuinely caught off guard. "I asked you to eat chicken." "You asked me to lunch." "I did. After knowing me for 3 hours. Technically, I asked after knowing you for about 2. That improves it tremendously." His eyes narrowed slightly with amusement. Rachel sighed. She lowered her voice. "I'm serious." "So am I." "That is exactly the problem." For a moment, he simply looked at her. Crew members moved past them carrying equipment, garment bags, bottled water. Somewhere behind Rachel, someone called for a missing pair of shoes. Adrian stepped slightly closer, though not enough to invade her space. "Why is me being serious a problem?" Rachel looked at him. "Because you are Adrian Kwon." She didn't say it. He seemed to hear it anyway. "That," he said. "What?" "That look." "What look?" "The one where you remember who I am." Rachel almost laughed. "You make it very difficult to forget." "I'm beginning to think that's not a compliment." "It wasn't an insult." "Progress." Rachel shook her head. "My job is here." "So is mine." "My career is here." The amusement softened in his expression. Rachel continued before she could talk herself out of it. "This is the biggest production I've ever headed. People are already waiting to see whether I can handle it." "Who?" "Everybody." "That's dramatic." "That's Hollywood." He couldn't argue with that. Rachel rested one hand against the clothing rack. "You walk onto a set, and everybody knows your name before you say it." Adrian's face went still. "I walk onto a set, and I have to prove why mine should be remembered." Something changed in his eyes. Rachel knew she'd finally gotten through. "If I do my job well," she continued, "maybe after this show I get another one this size, then another. Maybe eventually people hire me because I ran this department and nobody has to ask whether I can handle it." Adrian nodded slowly. "And dating me interferes with that?" "Potentially. Because I'm an actor on the show." Rachel gave him a look. "Because you're the actor on the show." His mouth almost smiled. She pointed at him. "Do not enjoy that." "I wasn't." "You absolutely were." "A little." Rachel laughed despite herself. There it was again, that maddening ability he had to shift the air around a conversation without appearing to try. She straightened. "The answer is still no." "To lunch?" "To wherever this is going." Adrian studied her for another second. Then, unexpectedly, he nodded. "All right." Rachel hesitated. "All right?" "You said no." "Yes." "I heard you." She didn't know why that surprised her. Maybe because she had expected charm, negotiation, persistence disguised as humor. Instead, he simply accepted the boundary. Adrian glanced at the muffin. "But I'm still offended by that." Rachel looked down. "It's perfectly fine. That's not breakfast. It's almost lunch, which you're apparently not having." "I'll eat later." His expression sharpened. "Rachel." She stared at him. "Was that concern?" "No." It sounded like concern. "I don't know you well enough to be concerned." "Excellent. We're making progress." "I'll see you on set." He started walking away. Rachel called after him. "Adrian?" He turned. "What?" She lifted the muffin. "Blueberries are antioxidants." He looked at her for a beat, then laughed. "Eat something, Westmoreland," and walked away. Rachel watched him for approximately 3 seconds, 4 at most. Then she caught herself. "Absolutely not." "What?" Rachel jumped. Marisol stood behind her holding 3 wig caps. "How long have you been there?" "Long enough." Rachel narrowed her eyes. Marisol smiled innocently. "Don't." "I didn't say anything." "Your face did." "My face is minding its business." "Tell it to do that somewhere else." Marisol laughed and walked away. Rachel looked once toward the direction Adrian had disappeared, then shoved the rest of the muffin into her mouth. At 1:15, the production moved to the operating room set. The temperature immediately became a problem. The lights were brutal. Adrian, Sloane, and 4 supporting actors wore surgical gowns over scrubs beneath protective equipment. By the 3rd take, everyone was sweating. Rachel stood beside the monitors studying continuity photographs. "Cut!" the director groaned. "Again." "Adrian, that was perfect until the instrument handoff. We're losing the rhythm." Adrian pulled down his surgical mask. "Got it." Rachel approached with blotting papers. Sloane was already surrounded by her makeup team. Rachel stopped in front of Adrian. "Hold still. I've been told I'm good at that. By people who don't work with you." He lowered his face slightly so Rachel could reach more easily. She blotted his forehead. The room around them was loud. Equipment moved. Crew reset instruments. The medical consultant spoke with Sloane near the operating table. Rachel concentrated on Adrian's skin. "Look up." He did. She checked beneath his eyes. "Your makeup is breaking around the mask." "Is that bad?" "It will be if you keep sweating." "I'll stop." "Thank you. I live to make your job easier." Rachel looked at him. He was smiling. Barely. "You've been surprisingly well behaved." "Surprisingly?" "I had concerns." "About my pants?" "Among other things." "What other things?" Rachel reached for powder. "I've seen actor writers." He winced. "That bad?" "One man required imported glacier water." Adrian frowned. "To drink?" "To wash his face." He stared at her. "No." "Yes." "Was he good?" "At acting?" "At anything." Rachel laughed. A few feet away, Sloane looked over. Rachel didn't notice. Adrian did. His gaze shifted briefly past Rachel before returning. "What?" Rachel asked. "Nothing." She dusted powder across his forehead. Sloane called from behind them. "Adrian, apparently we're married now." Rachel stepped back. Adrian turned. Sloane held up her phone. "Already?" "Apparently." She walked toward them, laughing. "Entertainment Wire posted pictures from yesterday's table read?" She handed him the phone. Rachel looked despite herself. The photograph showed Adrian and Sloane standing beside each other outside the studio offices. Sloane was laughing at something. Adrian had one hand in his pocket and was looking down toward her. From the angle, they did look intimate. The headline read, "Adrian Kwon and Sloane Carlyle, Hollywood's hottest new couple?" Rachel looked away. Ridiculous. They had known each other a week. Sloane laughed. "My mother is going to call me." Adrian handed the phone back. "My sister will send me the article without comment." "That's worse." "Much." Sloane looked at Rachel. "You see what we deal with?" Rachel smiled. "Tragic." "I stood next to him." "You should know better." "Exactly." Adrian looked at Rachel. "You seem remarkably unsympathetic." "I have 6 people in surgical gowns under studio lights. My sympathy is allocated elsewhere." Sloane laughed. "I told you I liked her." Rachel smiled and turned away. Back to places. She heard Adrian behind her. "Yes, boss." Sloane laughed again. Rachel kept walking. But something small had lodged itself beneath her ribs. Not jealousy. Certainly not. The article was ridiculous. Sloane and Adrian weren't dating. And if they were? Rachel didn't care. She had just explained quite clearly that she was not going to date him. So whatever strange feeling had appeared when she saw the photograph could take itself somewhere useful and reorganize the wardrobe trailer. By 6:30 that evening, Rachel's feet hurt. By 7, she had stopped pretending they didn't. The final scene of the day required Adrian to deliver bad news to a patient's family. Rachel stood behind the monitors, arms folded, watching his white coat. Only his white coat, mostly. Action. Adrian entered the frame. His entire demeanor changed again. Rachel had noticed it that morning. Now she understood why critics liked him. He didn't perform emotion outward. He seemed to contain it. The scene required very little dialogue. A mother asked if her daughter had survived surgery. Adrian's character hesitated. That was all. One breath, a slight change in his eyes. Rachel forgot the coat entirely. The scene ended. Silence held for a moment. Then, cut. The director exhaled. That's it. The room erupted into applause. First day. Finished. Rachel smiled before she could stop herself. People hugged. Someone shouted about drinks. Sloane crossed the set and wrapped both arms around the director. Adrian shook hands with one of the camera operators before his gaze moved across the stage. It landed on Rachel. He smiled. Not the movie star smile. Something smaller. Private. Rachel felt herself smile back. Then somebody stepped between them. The moment broke. Good. Probably. Rachel turned toward her department. Okay, everybody. Nothing leaves without being checked back in. Hero wardrobe first. Continuity photos uploaded before you go home. Tomorrow's call is 5. Groans answered her. I didn't make the schedule. You enforce it, Marisol said. That's why they pay me. Not enough. Also true. Rachel spent another 40 minutes closing the department. When she finally stepped outside, night had settled over the studio lot. Her shoulders dropped. Quiet. For the first time all day, nobody was asking her anything. Rachel adjusted the strap of her oversized tote and started toward the parking structure. Westmoreland. She stopped. Adrian leaned against a black SUV several yards away. He had changed into charcoal trousers and a black jacket. Rachel stared. "Are you waiting for me?" "Yes." "That feels ominous." "I considered hiding behind your car, but apparently I have boundaries now." Rachel laughed. He pushed away from the SUV. "How was your first day?" The question surprised her. "My first day?" "As department head on the biggest production of your career." Rachel studied him. He remembered. "Good." "Just good?" She smiled. "Ask me after I sleep." "That bad?" "That good." He nodded. "I understand that." They stood beneath the parking lights. No makeup station, no wardrobe rack, no assistant director yelling for places. For the first time, Adrian didn't seem like someone Rachel was responsible for preparing for camera. He was simply a man standing in front of her. That was considerably more dangerous. Rachel adjusted her tote. "You were good today." His eyebrows lifted. "You watched?" "Some." "I thought you only watched my clothes." "I multitask." "That may be the nicest thing you've said to me." "Don't get used to it." He smiled, then reached toward the roof of his SUV. A paper bag sat there. He picked it up and held it out. Rachel looked at it. "What is that?" "Dinner." Her eyes narrowed. "Adrian." "Not with me." She looked up. He seemed genuinely amused. "You said you wouldn't have lunch with me. You did not say I couldn't prevent you from surviving entirely on blueberry muffins." Rachel stared at the bag. "You bought me dinner?" "My assistant did." "Ah, but I instructed him." "So romantic." He laughed. "It's grilled chicken, vegetables, rice, nothing weird, nothing that needs refrigeration immediately." Rachel didn't take it. "This is how it starts." "How what starts?" "You feeding me." "Terrifying." "Then coffee." "Obviously." "Then suddenly I'm in some magazine hiding behind sunglasses while people speculate about whether I'm pregnant." Adrian stared at her. Rachel's mouth twitched. He laughed. Not the quiet, polished laugh she'd heard all day. A real one. His head tipped back slightly. Rachel hated how much she liked the sound. "Rachel." "What?" "Take the chicken." She finally did. The bag was warm. "Thank you." "You're welcome." She looked at him. "No hidden agenda?" "Oh, there's absolutely a hidden agenda." Her eyebrows rose. Adrian slid his hands into his jacket pockets. "I still want you to have dinner with me." Rachel shook her head. "But," he continued, "you already said no." "That hasn't changed." "I know." Something about the simple answer unsettled her more than persistence would have. Adrian stepped backward toward his SUV. "Good night, Rachel." "Good night." He opened the driver's door. She turned toward the parking structure. "Rachel." She looked back. "Tomorrow?" "What about it?" His half-smile appeared. "I'll try for your undivided attention again." Rachel laughed. "You're going to be disappointed." "We'll see." He got into the SUV. Rachel walked away carrying the dinner he'd bought her. Not a date. Definitely not a date. She repeated that to herself twice before reaching her car. Then she looked down at the warm paper bag in her hand. Oh, this man is going to be a problem. By the end of the first week, Adrian Kwon had developed a coffee problem. More specifically, he had developed a habit of appearing in Rachel Westmoreland's department carrying 2 of them. The first time, she had refused. The second time, she had accepted because hers had gone cold 40 minutes earlier. By Thursday, he knew her order. Rachel considered this unacceptable. "You're encouraging him," Marisol said. Rachel didn't look up from the continuity photographs spread across the counter. "I'm drinking coffee." "That he brings you." "He has access to coffee." "So do you." "I have access to coffee that tastes like boiled cardboard." Marisol leaned against the counter. "And his?" Rachel took another sip. "Unfortunately excellent." "Exactly." Rachel pointed at her. Go check Sloane's fitting. Already did. Then check it again. Marisol smiled. You know what I think? No. I think... Dangerous opening. I think you like him. Rachel finally looked up. Of course I like him. Marisol blinked. Rachel returned to the photographs. He's funny. He's professional. He knows his lines. He hasn't complained once about being in the chair at 5 a.m. Why wouldn't I like him? Marisol stared. You just admitted that very calmly. Because liking someone and making a bad decision with them are two completely different things. Maybe it wouldn't be a bad decision. Rachel stopped. That was the problem. She looked at Marisol. It could be. The humor disappeared from her friend's face. Rachel lowered her voice. This show works. I'm not just the woman who did makeup on it. I'm the woman who ran the department. I know. And if 6 months from now I'm Adrian Kwon's ex-girlfriend? Marisol said nothing. Rachel picked up the next continuity photograph. People have short memories when it comes to your work, and very long ones when it comes to scandal. You're assuming scandal. I'm assuming Hollywood. That ended the conversation, mostly because they both knew Rachel wasn't wrong. A voice came from the doorway. Should I be offended that everyone stops talking when I enter? Rachel didn't turn. No. Good. Adrian walked in carrying 1 coffee. Rachel's eyes narrowed. 1? He looked down at the cup. You said I was encouraging you. Rachel stared. Marisol made a choking sound. Adrian's mouth curved. Rachel held out her hand. Give me the coffee. I don't know. I'm concerned about boundaries. Adrian. He surrendered it. Marisol walked away laughing. Rachel took a sip. Perfect. She hated that. You've become smug. I've always been smug. At least you're self-aware. Therapy. Rachel looked at him. He smiled. I've never been to therapy. You should consider it. Will it help me get a dinner date? No. Then I'm unconvinced. Rachel shook her head and returned to the continuity board. Adrian stayed. She could feel him there. After several seconds, she looked up. Do you need something? Yes. What? 5 minutes. No. You don't even know what I want. I know you. You've known me 6 days. Longest 6 days of my life. He leaned one shoulder against the counter. 5 minutes. 4? A conversation. We're having one. A conversation where you're not simultaneously matching fake bruises. Rachel glanced at the photograph in her hand. Multitasking. I'm beginning to take it personally. You'll recover. His expression softened. 5 minutes, Rachel. Something in his voice made her stop. No teasing. No half smile. She sighed. When? Now. I have... He looked at the wall clock. You're waiting for stage 12 to reset the ambulance bay. Rachel looked at him. How do you know that? I listen. That surprised her. He pushed away from the counter. 5 minutes. Rachel glanced toward the department. Marisol had disappeared. Traitor. Fine. Adrian smiled. That's going to cost you 1 minute. Then stop smiling. They walked outside the soundstage. Adrian didn't take her far. That surprised Rachel, too. She had expected a car, a trailer, some carefully arranged private setting that would make his intentions obvious. Instead, he led her to 2 folding chairs beside the stage wall, far enough from the doors to escape the noise, but still in plain view of anyone walking past. Rachel sat. Adrian sat beside her. She checked her watch. 4 minutes and 38 seconds. You're terrifying. Talk. He rested his forearms on his knees. For several seconds, he didn't. Rachel looked at him. This was your idea. I know. You're losing time. I was trying to decide whether you're always like this. Efficient? Defensive. That stopped her. Rachel leaned back. Careful. That's not an accusation. It sounded like one. Adrian nodded. Fair. He looked toward the studio lot. A golf cart passed carrying lighting equipment. Someone across the pavement shouted about cables. Rachel waited. Adrian finally said, "Why did you take this job?" She frowned. "Because they offered it to me. You know what I mean. Career advancement." "Rachel." She looked at him. He had done something she hadn't expected. He had brought her outside and hadn't once mentioned dinner. "All right." She crossed one leg over the other. "I've been doing this since I was 20. Makeup? Makeup first. Wardrobe came later." "How?" "I got tired of watching people ruin the whole look after I finished the face." He laughed. "Seriously." "I am serious." His smile remained. Rachel continued. "My mother sewed. My grandmother sewed. I grew up around fabric. I knew construction before I knew what continuity meant." "So fashion school?" "Cosmetology first, then costume design courses, then whatever job would let me onto a set." "Commercials?" "Everything." "Everything?" Rachel counted on her fingers. "Commercials, music videos, student films, independent movies where lunch was a bag of chips and somebody's cousin was holding the boom." Adrian laughed. "You're joking." "I wish." "What was your first real film?" "Depends what you mean by real." "One people saw." "That took longer." He smiled. Rachel's expression softened. "I spent years assisting." "That must have been frustrating." "Sometimes." "Why stay?" The answer came easily. "I love it." Adrian looked at her. Rachel shrugged. "I like helping create the person the audience believes. Most people think wardrobe is clothes and makeup is making someone pretty. It's not." "No." She was surprised he knew that. Rachel leaned forward. "If your character hasn't slept in 30 hours, I need the audience to know before you tell them. If you're supposed to have money, your coach should say it without us putting a logo on your chest. If you've been in surgery for 11 hours, your scrubs can't look like somebody ironed them 5 minutes ago." Adrian listened, really listened. "So when you watch me," he said, "you're watching all of that." "Yes." "Not my brilliant acting." "Occasionally." "That hurts." Rachel smiled. "And this job?" He gestured toward the soundstage. She understood. Rachel looked down at her hands. "This is the first time someone handed me the whole thing." "The whole department?" "2 departments." "Right. Never forget that." She laughed, then became serious again. "I've had bigger credits. I've supervised teams before, but this is different. This is the kind of job people either decide you can handle or decide they were right not to give you." Adrian was quiet. Rachel looked at him. "And that is why I am not going to become the story about the department head sleeping with the star." His jaw shifted slightly. "I haven't asked you to sleep with me." "No." "I asked you to dinner." "I know." "That distinction matters." "It does." Rachel held his eyes. "But you also know nobody writing the headline would care about the distinction." That landed. She saw it. Adrian looked away for a moment. "I hate that you're right. I don't particularly enjoy it. What if nobody knew?" Rachel immediately shook her head. "No." "Because you'd know?" "Because that's worse." He looked back. Rachel's voice softened. "I don't want to sneak around like I'm doing something shameful." Adrian nodded once. "I wouldn't want that either." For the first time since he'd started pursuing her, Rachel felt something inside her loosen. Not because he had convinced her, because he hadn't tried. She checked her watch. 5 minutes. That was fast. "You wasted 30 seconds. I'd like an appeal." "Denied." They stood. Adrian shoved his hands into the pockets of his jacket as they walked toward the soundstage. Rachel looked sideways at him. "Why did you take this show?" He glanced down. "My 5 minutes are over." Rachel stopped. He kept walking. "Adrian." He turned. She narrowed her eyes. "That was deliberate." "Absolutely." "You are annoying." "You can ask me tomorrow." "I may not care tomorrow." His half-smile appeared. "You'll care." Rachel stared at him. He went inside. She stood there for 2 seconds. then 3. "Oh, I cannot stand that man." A production assistant walking past gave her a startled look. Rachel smiled. "Not you." The answer came sooner than tomorrow. That afternoon, Rachel was called to Adrian's trailer for an emergency wardrobe issue. Emergency was an aggressive description. A button had come loose. Rachel stared at the offending button, then at Adrian. "You couldn't let wardrobe handle this?" He was seated on the small sofa wearing black trousers and a partially unbuttoned pale blue dress shirt. "My dresser is on set." "You have 3 dressers." "2 are with background." Rachel put down her kit. "And the 3rd? He looked innocent. Rachel's eyes narrowed. "Adrian." She may have been available. Rachel closed her eyes. "This is harassment. You came voluntarily." "I was told there was an emergency." A button could fall off. The nation would mourn. "I appreciate your understanding." Rachel pulled out needle and thread. "Stand up." He did. "Shirt off." Adrian raised an eyebrow. Rachel stared. "For the button." "Of course." "You're enjoying this." "Immensely." He removed the shirt. Rachel immediately regretted her career choice. Not visibly. Internally. Very internally. Adrian was lean rather than massive, exactly as he appeared clothed, but the fitted shirts had concealed how defined his shoulders and chest actually were. Rachel looked at the shirt. Only the shirt. Beautiful shirt. Excellent stitching. Very professional shirt. She sat at the small table and threaded the needle. Adrian pulled on a black t-shirt from a nearby chair. "Thank God." "So?" Rachel asked. "So? Why television?" He smiled. "You cared." "Don't make me leave." He sat opposite her. "I'd been offered television before." "And?" "I liked movies." "You still do?" "I do." Rachel pushed the needle through the fabric. "So why this?" "The script." "That's very actor of you." "Would you prefer money?" "More honest." "The money didn't hurt." She laughed. Adrian leaned back. "My father was a doctor." Rachel looked up, that she hadn't expected. "What kind?" "Internist." "Still practicing?" "No, retired." Rachel returned to the button. "He wanted you to be a doctor?" "He wanted me to be happy." "That sounds suspiciously healthy." "I had good parents." "Show off." Adrian smiled. "My mother taught music. My father practiced medicine. I somehow decided pretending to be other people was the sensible career." "How did they take that?" "My mother immediately supported me." "And your father?" "He asked if I had health insurance." Rachel laughed. "That sounds like a father." "He never pushed medicine, but I grew up around it. Hospitals, doctors, people calling him at terrible hours." "So the role felt familiar." "A little." His voice changed. Rachel noticed. "My father had a heart attack 2 years ago." Her hand stopped. "He's okay?" "Yes." Adrian nodded. "Very okay. Annoyingly okay. He walks 6 miles a day now and tells everyone else how to eat." Rachel smiled. "But?" He looked down briefly. "But for about 12 hours, we didn't know." Rachel understood. "You saw him differently after that." "I saw everything differently." Silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable, just quiet. Rachel finished securing the button. Adrian said, "Then this script came." She looked at him. "The character spends his whole life believing competence can protect him from loss." Rachel nodded slowly. "And it can't." "No." His gaze held hers. "I understood him." Something shifted. Rachel had been trying very hard to keep Adrian Kwon contained inside a category: movie star, bachelor, dangerous distraction, easy, useful. Then every few days he did something irritating like become human. Rachel broke the thread. "Done." She handed him the shirt. "Crisis averted." Adrian took it. "Thank you." "You're welcome." He stood. Rachel packed her kit. "Rachel." She looked up. "I'm not asking you to dinner." That sentence usually means somebody is about to ask me to dinner. He laughed. No. He buttoned the shirt. The repaired button held. I understand what you said earlier. She waited. About your career. Rachel's expression softened. I don't know whether I understood it before. I know. I probably should have. You've had a different experience. That isn't an excuse. No, but it's an explanation. Adrian studied her. You always this reasonable? No, sometimes I'm hungry. His eyes immediately narrowed. Did you eat lunch? Rachel picked up her kit. Goodbye, Adrian. Rachel. She opened the trailer door. Goodbye. That's a no. She stepped outside, smiling. The first promotional photo shoot happened Friday. Rachel hated promotional shoots. Not because they were difficult, because everybody suddenly cared about things that had not mattered for 5 consecutive days. Sloane's lipstick was changed 3 times. Adrian's shirt was changed twice. The network couldn't decide whether the 2 leads should look romantically connected or professionally competitive. Rachel stood beside the photographer while executives debated. Closer, one finally said. Adrian and Sloane moved closer. More. Sloane slipped her arm through Adrian's. The photographer shot several frames. Good. Adrian, look at her. He did. Beautiful. Sloane, chin up. Flash, flash, flash. Rachel studied the monitor. They looked spectacular together. There was no denying it. Sloane wore ivory. Adrian wore charcoal. Her champagne blonde hair fell over one shoulder. His hand rested lightly at her waist. Movie stars. Perfectly packaged. Rachel adjusted a bracelet on her wrist. Rachel? She looked over. The photographer waved. Can you check Adrian's collar? Coming. She walked onto the set. Sloane remained beside him. Rachel reached for Adrian's collar. Hold. He did. She flattened the fabric. His eyes lowered to her face. Rachel ignored them. Sloane said lightly, You two have developed quite the system. Rachel smiled. Training. Adrian said, She's very demanding. You require supervision. Sloane laughed. So I've heard. Rachel stepped back. There. But before she could turn, Sloane reached out and lightly touched Rachel's wrist. Actually, can you look at this? She indicated her neckline. Something feels off. Rachel studied it. The dress was perfect. What feels off? I don't know. Is it sitting crooked? Rachel adjusted one side by less than half an inch. Better? Sloane looked into the monitor. Yes, thank you. Her smile was warm, normal. Rachel smiled back. No problem. She returned to the photographer. The shoot continued. 10 minutes later, during a lighting adjustment, Rachel glanced toward the set. Sloane was talking to Adrian. He answered something. Sloane laughed and touched his chest, completely natural, probably nothing. Then Adrian's gaze moved past her, across the room, straight to Rachel. He smiled. Rachel's stomach did something deeply unprofessional. She immediately looked down at her tablet. When she looked up again, Sloane was watching her. The expression lasted barely a second. Not anger, not yet, just awareness. Sloane turned back toward Adrian. Rachel stared at the monitor. A cold little thought entered her mind. This could become complicated. Then she corrected herself. No, it could only become complicated if she allowed it to. Rachel Westmoreland had built an entire career by knowing when something did not belong in the frame. Adrian Kwon did not belong in hers. The problem was becoming increasingly obvious. He had no intention of staying out of it. Adrian hadn't planned to spend Friday night at home. There had been a party in Beverly Hills. He had said he would probably attend. At 7:30, his publicist texted asking whether he was still coming. Adrian looked at the message from his kitchen, then looked at the pan on the stove. He typed, "Not tonight. Early call." It was technically true. His call was at 6. He had attended premieres on 4 hours of sleep. His phone buzzed again. "You okay?" Adrian frowned. He typed, "Why wouldn't I be?" 3 dots appeared. "You turned down a room full of actresses and free alcohol. Just checking for fever." Adrian laughed. He put the phone face down. The kitchen became quiet again. His house was large enough that silence sometimes seemed to have dimensions. He had never minded it, still didn't. He poured sauce over the pasta in the pan and thought about Rachel. Again. That was becoming inconvenient. He had been attracted to her immediately. That part wasn't interesting. Rachel was beautiful. Tall, warm brown skin, short black hair that exposed the elegant line of her neck, enormous dark eyes that became particularly expressive when she was irritated with him. Attraction was easy. Adrian understood attraction. What he did not understand was why he kept wanting to talk to her, why he'd remembered that she had spent 15 years building her career, why he'd noticed she rubbed the inside of her wrist when she was stressed, why he now knew she preferred coffee without flavored syrup, why 5 minutes sitting beside a soundstage had been more interesting than most dates he'd had in the past year. His phone buzzed. Different message. A woman he'd seen occasionally over the past several months. "I'm in LA this weekend. Dinner?" Adrian stared at the screen. Beautiful woman. Funny. Easy company. No expectations. Exactly the sort of invitation he normally accepted. His thumb hovered over the phone. Then he typed, "Can't this weekend. Shooting. Rain check." He sent it. Adrian stood very still, then looked at his phone again. Huh. That was new. Not alarming. Not yet. He carried his dinner to the island. Rachel had told him no. Clearly. Twice. And somehow that wasn't the part bothering him. The part bothering him was that for the first time in a very long time, getting a woman interested in him felt less important than getting her to believe he was worth taking seriously. Adrian sat down. He took one bite, then laughed quietly to himself. Rachel Westmoreland was going to be difficult. The realization should have discouraged him. Instead, Adrian smiled. Not even slightly. Rachel had rules. They were good rules. Useful rules. Rules built from 15 years of watching intelligent people make spectacularly stupid decisions on film sets. Do not argue with a director in front of the crew. Do not trust a garment labeled one size fits all. Never leave a hero costume unattended near food. Never assume fake blood will wash out. And absolutely, under no circumstances, become romantically involved with someone whose name appeared above yours on the call sheet. By the second week of production, Adrian Kwon had begun making Rachel resent rules she had personally created. Not enough to break them, just enough to find them irritating. "Rachel?" She looked up from the rack of physician coats. A production assistant stood in front of her. "Yes?" "Mr. Kwon wants to know if you're coming." Rachel frowned. "Coming where?" "The network dinner." She stared at him. "The what?" "The network dinner tonight." "I know what the dinner is. Why is Adrian asking whether I'm coming?" The poor young man immediately looked as though he regretted every decision that had led him there. "I don't know." Rachel sighed. "Tell Mr. Kwon I have the same invitation everybody else has." The assistant nodded rapidly. "Okay." He turned. "And tell him—" The assistant froze. Rachel reconsidered. "Never mind." He escaped. Marisol appeared from behind the rack. "You enjoy terrorizing that boy." I asked him a question. He looked like he was being interrogated by Homeland Security. Rachel returned to the coats. "What am I supposed to do? Adrian sends messengers now?" Marisol grinned. "He wants to know if you're going." "He can want." "Are you?" "Yes." Marisol's eyebrows went up. Rachel sighed. "Department heads are expected. Costume, makeup, hair, production design, casting. It's not optional." "You own anything that isn't black?" Rachel looked down at herself. Black trousers, black fitted top, black boots. "Of course." Marisol waited. Rachel looked at her. "What?" "Name something." "My couch." Marisol laughed. "I have clothes." "You have work clothes." "I have regular clothes." "Rachel, I have seen you wear a tape measure as a necklace." "It was temporary." "For 6 hours." Rachel pulled another coat from the rack. "I know how to dress." "I didn't say you didn't." "You implied it." "I implied that for once, you might want to dress like somebody who isn't expecting to crawl beneath a wardrobe rack." Rachel glanced over. Marisol smiled sweetly. "This has nothing to do with Adrian." "Of course not." Nothing. Obviously. Rachel narrowed her eyes. You're irritating. I learned from him. The network dinner was held at a private restaurant in West Hollywood. Rachel almost skipped it anyway. At 6:15, she was still in her office signing off on Episode 3 wardrobe purchases. At 6:30, she considered sending an apologetic email. At 6:40, Marisol walked into the room, closed Rachel's laptop, and took it with her. Rachel stared. Give that back. No. Marisol, you have worked 14 hours. I have things to do. They will exist tomorrow. That's not comforting. Marisol pointed toward the door. Go home, shower, put on something gorgeous, drink 1 glass of wine with people who are going to decide whether we all have jobs next season. Rachel stood. When you put it that way, it sounds relaxing. Go. Rachel grabbed her bag. At the doorway, she stopped. And give me my laptop. No. You cannot steal department property. Apparently I can. Rachel arrived 20 minutes late. She blamed Los Angeles traffic. It was mostly true. The restaurant occupied the top floor of a low modern building overlooking the city. Warm amber lights reflected against glass walls, and the network had reserved the entire private dining room. Rachel stepped from the elevator and immediately wished she had been 30 minutes later. Everyone was there. Executives, producers, directors, writers, cast. The room was full of people who could change a career with 1 phone call and behaved as though they were merely having appetizers. Rachel smoothed 1 hand down the side of her dress. Marisol had been wrong. She owned color. Tonight it was deep copper. The dress was simple, a sleeveless wrap design that followed her curves without clinging, falling below her knees with a softly draped skirt. Bronze heels added 3 inches to her already considerable height. Her short hair was sculpted into soft waves across the crown, the sides sleek and feminine. She had added more drama to her makeup than she wore on set. Deeper bronze around the eyes, sharper contour, warm highlight across her cheekbones, glossy mocha lips. A long, hammered bronze earring hung from each ear. Layered chains rested against her chest, one holding a small cowrie shell. Rachel looked like herself, just herself, without a radio clipped to her waistband. "Rachel!" She turned. Sloane Carlyle crossed the room toward her. Sloane wore an ivory silk dress that probably cost more than Rachel's first car. Her blonde hair fell in polished waves over one shoulder. "You came." "I was told attendance was mandatory." Sloane laughed. "Who told you that?" "My anxiety." "That counts." She hugged Rachel lightly. "You look beautiful." "Thank you. So do you." Sloane stepped back and looked her over. "No, seriously. You hide all this under utility jackets?" Rachel laughed. "I work for a living." "So do I." "Your job includes people steaming your dress while you're wearing it." Sloane smiled. "Fair." Someone called her name. Sloane glanced over. "I have to go pretend I remember the vice president of something." "Good luck." Sloane started away, then stopped. "Oh." Rachel followed her gaze. Across the room, Adrian stood speaking with 2 network executives. Black suit, black shirt, no tie. Rachel immediately regretted having eyes. The man was unfair. He looked different outside the soundstage, not physically. The same face, same height, same impossibly composed posture. But on set, Rachel always had something to check. Foundation, collar, continuity, wardrobe. Here there was nothing wrong with him, nothing for her to fix. That created an entirely new problem. Sloane looked at Rachel, then Adrian, then Rachel again. A tiny smile appeared. "I'll leave you to it." Rachel's head snapped toward her. "To what?" But Sloane was already walking away. Rachel muttered something inappropriate beneath her breath and headed toward the bar. She had almost reached it when a voice said beside her, "You came." Rachel stopped. "Adrian." She turned slowly. "You sent a production assistant to verify that." "He seemed nervous when he came back." "That's his natural state." Adrian smiled. Then he looked at her. Really looked. Rachel felt the difference immediately. His eyes traveled from her face to the bronze earrings, the dress, then back to her eyes. Nothing disrespectful, nothing she could object to, unfortunately. You look beautiful. Rachel's stomach tightened. Thank you. There was no joke available. She hated that too. Adrian glanced at the bartender. What are you drinking? Wine? Red? Yes. He ordered one for her. Rachel looked at him. I am capable of ordering my own drink. I know. Then why did you? Because I was standing here. The bartender placed the glass in front of her. Adrian handed it to Rachel. She took it. Thank you. You're welcome. She took a sip. Adrian's expression shifted. What? Rachel asked. Nothing. That is never true when someone says it like that. He leaned one elbow against the bar. I've never seen you outside work. Rachel looked around. We are at a work event. You know what I mean. I do. And? And what? You look different. Rachel raised an eyebrow. Careful. He laughed. Not better. Good recovery. I didn't need to recover. Everybody thinks that until they're bleeding. Adrian smiled. Different. Rachel waited. Softer. That caught her off guard. She glanced toward the room. I don't have 40 people asking me questions. Maybe that's it. And I'm not wearing comfortable shoes. He looked down. His eyes stopped at her heels, then returned to her face. You're almost my height. I'm 5'10" without them. I know. Wardrobe knows everyone's height? His smile widened. Rachel pointed at him. Don't use my material. It's good material. A network producer approached. Adrian, sorry, can I steal you? Adrian glanced at Rachel. You can try. The producer laughed. Rachel shook her head. Go. I'll find you. That sounded threatening. It was a promise. He walked away. Rachel watched him, only briefly. Then she turned toward the bar. Interesting. Rachel nearly spilled her wine. Sloane had appeared beside her. You people need bells. Sloane laughed. What? Nothing. Rachel took another drink. Sloane looked across the room at Adrian. He likes you. Rachel's hand stopped halfway to the bar. Sloane? What? He likes everybody. No. Sloane's tone remained light. He's charming with everybody. That is different. Rachel looked at her. Sloane took a sip of champagne. There was no hostility in her expression. If anything, she seemed amused. Rachel lowered her voice. There is nothing happening. I didn't say there was. Good. I said he likes you. Rachel looked away. Sloane leaned lightly against the bar. You know half the women in this room have spent 10 years wondering what Adrian Kwon is like on a date. Then one of them can find out. Sloane laughed. You really aren't going to make this easy for him. There is no this. All right. Sloane held up one hand. I surrender. Rachel studied her. Do you like him? Sloane's brows rose. Rachel immediately wished she hadn't asked. Sloane smiled. He's Adrian. That wasn't an answer. Neither was yours. Fair. Sloane looked toward him again. We have chemistry. On camera. Very much on camera. Rachel smiled. And off? Sloane shrugged elegantly. We get along. He's attractive. I'm single. Rachel took a drink. Sloane watched her. If you're asking whether I'm secretly planning our wedding, no. I wasn't asking that. Good, because my mother would insist on peonies. Rachel laughed. The moment passed, but the information remained. Sloane was attracted to him. Of course she was. Most women with functioning eyesight probably were. Rachel certainly was. She simply had better sense. At least she hoped she did. Dinner required assigned seating. Rachel discovered this too late. She found her place card, then looked at the chair beside it. Adrian Kwon. Rachel closed her eyes. This was not me. She opened them. Adrian stood behind the chair. Of course it wasn't. I swear. You don't look trustworthy. I can show you the seating chart. Rachel sat. You probably bribed someone. I haven't had to bribe anyone for a seat beside a woman since high school. Comforting. He sat beside her. Sloane was across the table between the director and one of the executive producers. If she noticed the seating arrangement, she didn't react. Dinner moved quickly. Conversation stayed mostly on the show, ratings expectations, marketing, the premiere date, early footage. Adrian was pulled into one discussion after another. Rachel found herself watching him work the room. That was what it was. Work. He remembered names, asked questions, made people laugh without monopolizing the conversation. When a junior writer tried twice to speak and was interrupted by an executive, Adrian turned directly to her. "You were saying?" The table quieted. The writer finished her point. Nobody else seemed to notice what he'd done. Rachel did. Later, one of the network executives raised a glass. "To the show that's going to make all of us look very smart." Everyone laughed. Glasses lifted. Rachel raised hers. Adrian leaned slightly toward her. "You okay?" "Why wouldn't I be? You've been quiet." "I'm eating." "Professionally?" "Very." He smiled. Rachel cut into her salmon. "You're good at this." "At eating?" "This." She gestured toward the table. "People." Adrian considered that. "Occupational skill." "You remember everyone's name?" "I try." "Why?" His eyebrows lifted. "That is an alarming question." "You know what I mean." He glanced around the table. "Because they know mine." Rachel looked at him. Adrian continued quietly. "Seems unfair not to learn theirs." There he went again, becoming human. Rachel looked down at her plate. "You need to stop doing that." "Doing what?" "Ruining my assumptions." His mouth curved. "I didn't realize I was under review." "You are." "How am I doing?" Rachel took a sip of wine. "Undetermined." "I'll accept that." By 10:30, Rachel was ready to leave. She had 1 glass of wine, 2 cups of water, dessert, enough networking to satisfy her conscience. She located her coat and escaped before anyone could suggest another drink. The elevator doors opened into the lobby. Rachel stepped inside. A hand appeared between the doors. They reopened. "Adrian." Rachel sighed. "You're following me." "That's becoming your favorite theory." "You were upstairs." "So were you." He stepped inside. The doors closed. For the first time all evening, they were alone. Rachel became acutely aware of it. Adrian stood beside her, hands in his pockets. "You had fun." It wasn't a question. Rachel looked ahead. "I survived." "You laughed." "I laugh at work." "Not like that." She turned. "Are you monitoring my laughter now?" "Only recreationally." The elevator descended. Rachel shook her head. "You're impossible." "So I've been told." "Frequently?" "Recently." The doors opened. They crossed the lobby together. Outside, the night air had cooled. Valets moved quickly beneath the entrance lights. Rachel handed over her ticket. Adrian stayed beside her. "You don't have to wait." "I know." She looked at him. He looked back. No smile. That made him considerably more dangerous. Rachel folded her arms. "What?" "Dinner. We just had dinner." "With 40 people." 36. "You counted?" "I run continuity." His mouth twitched. "Dinner with me." Rachel exhaled. "Adrian." "1 dinner." "You're persistent." "Yes." "I told you why this is a bad idea." "You did." "And?" "And I'm not pretending your reasons aren't real." That silenced her. He continued. "But attraction doesn't disappear because something is inconvenient." Rachel's pulse shifted. She hated that he said it so simply. "I know you're attracted to me." Her eyebrows rose. Confidence had officially returned. He smiled slightly. "And I'm attracted to you." Breaking news. "I'd rather hear it from you." Rachel looked toward the valet stand. Her car had not arrived. Traitorous vehicle. Adrian lowered his voice. "I'm not asking you for anything you're not willing to give." "I know. But I'm also not going to pretend I'm not interested just to make this easier." Rachel looked at him. His expression had lost the teasing edge. There it was. The problem. Adrian wasn't making her uncomfortable. He wasn't pressuring her. He wasn't ignoring her boundaries. He was simply standing there, being clear. That left Rachel without anyone to fight except herself. "You have a reputation," she said. "I do. You've dated half of Hollywood. That's mathematically impossible." "Adrian, I've dated. A lot." "Yes." He didn't flinch from it. That somehow made it worse. Rachel continued, "And you've been perfectly happy doing that." "Yes." She stared. "You understand why you're not helping yourself." He laughed softly. "I could lie. I'd know. I think you would." Rachel looked away. Adrian's voice softened. "I've never promised someone forever to get them to say yes to dinner." She looked back. "I know." "Then don't judge me for promises I didn't make." That hit harder than she expected. Rachel was quiet. He wasn't wrong. His reputation wasn't that he cheated. Wasn't that he lied. Wasn't that he discarded women publicly. It was simply that every relationship ended. Rachel had turned that into evidence about what he would do to her. Perhaps unfairly. Perhaps not. Her car pulled up. Rachel had never been so annoyed to see it. The valet stepped out. Adrian moved back. He wasn't going to ask again. She could feel it. Not tonight. Rachel took her keys. "Good night." "Good night, Rachel." She opened the door, then stopped. This was stupid. She knew it before she turned around. Adrian was still standing beneath the lights. Rachel looked at him. "One coffee." His expression didn't change immediately. She nearly lost her nerve. "Off the lot," she added. "Somewhere public, before call, 30 minutes. Then he smiled, slowly, not triumphant, worse, warm. "That's a date." "No." "Rachel." "It is coffee." "Off the lot." "Coffee." "Alone." "Do you want me to change my mind?" His face became perfectly serious. "Coffee." "Thank you." "When?" Rachel thought. "Saturday." "We're shooting Saturday. Call isn't until 9. 7:30? 7. You negotiate aggressively. I have work. 7. Rachel got into her car. Adrian leaned slightly toward the open door. "Rachel?" "What?" "I won't tell anyone it's a date." She stared at him. His half-smile appeared. Rachel shut the door in his face. She could still hear him laughing through the glass. On the drive home, Rachel told herself she had agreed to coffee. Coffee was not a relationship. Coffee was not a scandal. Coffee did not undo 15 years of professional discipline. Coffee was beans and hot water. People drank it every day. She stopped at a red light. Her phone connected automatically to the car. A message appeared on the dashboard. "Adrian Kwon, 7 o'clock. I'll send you the place." Rachel stared at it. Another message appeared. "Adrian Kwon, and I promise not to wear anything seductive." Rachel laughed despite herself. She dictated, "Wear a paper bag." His response arrived before the light changed. "That feels judgmental." Rachel smiled all the way home. That was considerably harder to explain than the coffee. Rachel regretted agreeing to coffee at 6:52 Saturday morning. At 6:56, she considered turning around. At 6:59, she parked. "This is ridiculous." She checked herself in the rearview mirror. She had deliberately dressed casually. Dark jeans, soft cream sweater, brown leather jacket, flat ankle boots. Her short hair was brushed into loose waves across the crown, and she had kept her makeup lighter than usual. Lighter for Rachel still included contour, lashes, bronzer, and a glossy caramel lip. She wasn't a barbarian. Her phone showed 6:59. Rachel stared at the cafe across the street. Coffee, 30 minutes, public place. Nothing irresponsible had occurred. Yet. She got out. Adrian was already inside. Of course he was. He sat in a corner near the windows wearing dark jeans, a charcoal sweater, and a black baseball cap pulled low over his hair. Rachel stopped beside the table. "The hat is subtle." He looked up. "Good morning." "You look like a celebrity attempting not to look like a celebrity." "That's exactly what I am." Rachel sat. His eyes moved over her, that warm, appreciative look again. "You look beautiful." "I look awake." "Both can be true." A cup sat across from him. Rachel looked at it. "You ordered for me?" "I know your coffee." "That still bothers me." But you're going to drink it. She picked it up. Perfect. Rachel sighed. I dislike how useful you're becoming. I've been working on it. He smiled. She looked around. The cafe was quiet. 2 people worked on laptops near the back. An older couple shared a newspaper by the door. Nobody seemed particularly interested in them. Rachel relaxed slightly. Adrian noticed. You expected paparazzi? No. Yes, you did. I expected someone with a phone. Everyone has a phone. Exactly. His expression sobered. You really think about this constantly. Rachel held the cup between both hands. I think about consequences. Same thing? Not always. He nodded. No argument. Rachel appreciated that more than she wanted to. For several minutes, they talked about nothing important. Food, Los Angeles traffic, the fact that Adrian hated cilantro. Rachel considered that a character flaw. He defended himself aggressively. You eat soap voluntarily. It does not taste like soap. You've lost credibility. You're the one dating cilantro. Rachel almost choked on her coffee. We are not dating. You walked directly into that one. I hate you. No, you don't. Unfortunately, he looked very pleased with himself. Rachel laughed. Then Adrian became quieter. So, she recognized the tone. So? You asked me why I took the show. You answered. My turn. Rachel's stomach tightened. Why did you say yes to this? She held up the coffee. Yes to coffee? Yes. Rachel could have lied. She didn't. Because I wanted to. Something softened in his face. That bothered her considerably more than the flirting. She continued, wanting something doesn't automatically make it a good idea. No. And coffee isn't a promise. I know. And I'm still not interested in becoming a secret. I know. And, Rachel. What? You don't have to renegotiate the terms every 5 minutes. She stared at him. Adrian smiled gently. I know what this is. Do you? Coffee. She narrowed her eyes. He lifted his cup. Very serious coffee. Rachel laughed. There it was again. Ease. That was what frightened her. Not Adrian's face, not his reputation, not even the attraction. It was how easy talking to him had become. She looked at the clock on the wall. 7:24. You have 6 minutes. That's cruel. You agreed to 30. I assumed I'd charm you into 45. Overconfidence. I've built a career on it. Rachel smiled. Adrian watched her. Then he asked, Why me? She blinked. What? You've made an excellent case for why dating me is professionally irresponsible. Thank you. That wasn't praise. I accepted it anyway. Why are you attracted to me? Rachel stared. Adrian waited. She leaned back. Do people normally answer questions like that for you? Yes. At length? Sometimes with diagrams. She laughed despite herself. Your humility remains inspiring. Rachel. All right. She studied him. You're handsome. He nodded solemnly. I've heard rumors. Do you want me to leave? No. Then behave. He smiled. Rachel continued. You're funny. You're smart. You listen. That last one changed his expression. And you're not as shallow as I expected. Ouch. You asked. I did. You're also surprisingly kind. The teasing disappeared completely. Rachel looked down at her coffee. And that's probably the part I find most inconvenient. Adrian was quiet. When she looked up, he was simply watching her. No movie star smile. No clever answer. Rachel's pulse kicked. Your turn. My turn for what? Why me? He answered immediately. You don't want anything from me. Rachel frowned. That cannot be the entire reason. It isn't. Then? Adrian leaned back. You're beautiful. Her eyes narrowed. Original. You asked. Continue. You make me laugh. Better. You're very good at what you do. Rachel's expression softened. And you don't rearrange yourself when I walk into a room. That made her pause. What does that mean? People do. Rachel thought about it. He looked down at his cup. They become funnier, quieter, louder, more agreeable, more interesting, whatever they think I'm going to respond to. And I don't? You tell me my collar is crooked. Sometimes it is. I know. His eyes returned to hers. You're just Rachel. Something warm moved through her chest. Dangerous. Very dangerous. Rachel checked the clock. 7:31. Adrian groaned. You're ruthless. I gave you an extra minute. They stood. Outside, Adrian walked her to her car. Rachel unlocked it. Thank you for coffee. He smiled. Thank you for coming. She reached for the door. Rachel. She looked back. Adrian took one step closer, not enough to touch her, enough that she noticed. If I asked to see you again? Her heart answered much faster than her brain. Rachel ignored it. I'd say we're already seeing each other 12 hours a day. Outside work. She looked at him. Ask me later. His eyebrows lifted. That isn't no. Don't ruin it. He smiled. Rachel got into her car before she did something reckless, like smile back for too long. At 8:47, Rachel walked onto stage 12 carrying a garment bag and pretending she had not spent the entire drive replaying the conversation. She made it 20 feet. Good coffee? Rachel stopped. Sloane sat in her makeup chair. Her blonde hair was clipped away from her face, while one of the artists worked foundation along her jaw. Rachel looked at her through the mirror. What? Sloane smiled. Coffee. Rachel placed the garment bag on the wardrobe rack. Fine. With Adrian? Rachel went still. The makeup artist suddenly became fascinated with a sponge. Rachel looked at Sloane. How did you know that? Sloane's smile didn't change. I saw you both come in. We came separately. Close enough together. Rachel studied her. There was nothing accusatory in her voice. If anything, Sloane sounded amused. It's not a secret. Good. Rachel began checking the clothes. Sloane watched her through the mirror. I mean that. Rachel glanced over. Okay. I wouldn't want you thinking I'm being weird about it. I wasn't. Sloane smiled. Good. The word hung there a second too long. Rachel returned to the rack. Sloane said, Just be careful. Rachel's hand stopped. There it was. She turned. About? Sloane dismissed the makeup artist with a small gesture. Give us 1 second? The woman stepped away. Sloane lowered her voice. Adrian. Rachel's expression cooled slightly. What about him? Nothing bad. Sloane touched Rachel's wrist. It was an intimate little gesture, friendly, concerned. He's a good man. I actually like him. I know. And I'm not warning you away from him. It sounded remarkably like a warning. Sloane continued. You just haven't lived in his world the way some of us have. Rachel folded her arms. I work in his world. You work around it. That irritated her. Sloane must have seen it. I don't mean that disrespectfully. But Adrian has been famous a very long time. Rachel waited. Sloane sighed. The attention can be intense, and when Adrian becomes interested in someone, everyone becomes interested in her too. That sounds like his problem. Sloane gave a small, sympathetic smile. Until it becomes hers. Rachel said nothing, because that was precisely what she had been telling herself. Sloane continued softly. And the studio is already pushing us together. You and Adrian. Publicity. She rolled her eyes. Nothing romantic, but we're the leads. They want photographs, interviews, chemistry, speculation. Rachel nodded. She knew how publicity worked. Sloane leaned closer. If you're seeing him, you should know you're going to watch me touch him. Kiss him eventually. Do interviews where people ask whether we're dating. There may even be photographers conveniently present when we're out promoting together. Rachel's jaw tightened. Sloane caught it. See? See what? That. What? You don't like it? Rachel laughed once. I don't have to like everything. No. Sloane smiled kindly. But the public doesn't know the difference between a real relationship and a publicity narrative. Rachel stared at her. And if something gets messy, Adrian will still be Adrian Kwon. There it was. The exact fear Rachel had already confessed to Adrian. Sloane lowered her voice. You're the one they'll examine. Rachel felt the warning settle beneath her skin. Sloane squeezed her hand lightly. I would just hate to see your work overshadowed by something that has nothing to do with how talented you are. Then she smiled. Warm, supportive, almost protective. Rachel slowly withdrew her hand. Thank you. Sloane's smile brightened. I hope I didn't overstep. You did. That smile faltered, only slightly. Rachel continued calmly. But I understand what you're saying. Sloane nodded. That's all I meant. Good. Rachel turned toward the wardrobe rack. Because what happens between Adrian and me is something I'll handle. A pause. Of course. Rachel glanced back. Sloane was still smiling. But for the first time, Rachel noticed something. The smile was in exactly the same place. Her eyes were not. 3 hours later, the publicity team arrived. Rachel knew immediately because suddenly 6 people with tablets started walking around the set, saying words like engagement, organic, and momentum. The show had not aired. Apparently that did not matter. A publicist approached Adrian and Sloane between takes. Rachel stood nearby checking Sloane's white coat. We need something quick for socials. Sloane smiled. What? Behind the scenes. Casual. Adrian sighed. Those 2 words are never casual. The publicist ignored him. Stand together. Sloane moved beside Adrian. Rachel stepped out of frame. The publicist held up a phone. Closer. Adrian obeyed. Sloane slipped beneath his arm. Rachel looked down at her tablet. The conversation from that morning returned immediately. You're going to watch me touch him. Rachel hated that Sloane had been right. Smile. The photo was taken. Then another. Sloane looked up at Adrian and laughed. Click. Perfect. The publicist grinned. That's the one. Rachel concentrated very hard on a photograph of a white coat sleeve. Rachel. She looked up. Adrian was watching her. What? My collar. She studied it. It's fine. Are you sure? Yes. He kept looking at her. Rachel knew exactly what he was doing. Checking. She gave him the smallest smile. His shoulders relaxed. Sloane noticed. Rachel saw it this time. The publicist walked away. Sloane's arm remained around Adrian for several seconds longer than necessary. Then she released him. At lunch, the photograph appeared online. Rachel didn't search for it. Marisol brought it to her. Don't shoot the messenger. Rachel looked at the phone. The studio account had posted Adrian and Sloane laughing together. The caption celebrated their favorite doctors. Nothing scandalous, nothing dishonest. Comments were multiplying beneath it. The chemistry. Just date already. Tell me they're together. He finally met his match. Rachel handed the phone back. People need hobbies. Marisol watched her. What happened? Nothing. That's not your nothing face. Rachel sighed. Sloane gave me advice. Oh, Lord. Exactly. What kind? The kind that sounded helpful until I thought about it. Marisol sat across from her. Rachel summarized the conversation. By the end, Marisol's expression had changed. She is not your friend. I didn't say she was. She was marking territory. Rachel frowned. Don't make it juvenile. I'm not. Marisol pointed toward the stage. That woman just told you, very elegantly, that she belongs in Adrian's world, and you don't. Rachel opened her mouth, then closed it, because that was exactly what had bothered her. Not the warning about publicity, the distinction. You work around it. Rachel looked toward stage 12. Sloane stood beside Adrian talking with the director. Beautiful, blonde, famous, perfectly at home. Rachel looked down at her own hands, then immediately became irritated with herself. No. Marisol blinked. No what? I'm not doing that. Doing what? Comparing. Rachel straightened. I don't want Sloane's career. I don't want her face. I don't want her placed beside Adrian in a publicity photograph. Marisol smiled slowly. But? Rachel looked toward Adrian. He glanced across the stage, found her immediately, and smiled. Rachel hated the warmth that spread through her. But I may want Adrian. Marisol's mouth fell open. Rachel pointed at her. You repeat that, and I will deny it under oath. Marisol laughed. Oh, this is getting good. For you. Absolutely. Rachel shook her head. But when she looked back across the set, Sloane was watching Adrian watch her. This time, Sloane didn't smile, not until Adrian turned toward her. Then the transformation was immediate. Warm eyes, easy laugh, perfect Hollywood charm. Rachel felt something cold move beneath her ribs. Maybe Marisol was wrong. Maybe Sloane had simply been trying to help. Maybe Rachel was becoming suspicious because attraction had made her territorial too. She didn't know. But she knew faces. She had spent 15 years studying them from inches away. She knew when tension appeared around a mouth. She knew when warmth vanished from the eyes. And she knew exactly how much work could go into making something false look completely natural. Rachel looked at Sloane Carlyle. For the first time, she wondered what the actress was trying to make her believe. Rachel knew Sloane Carlyle was manipulating her. Knowing did not make it ineffective. That was the irritating part. 3 days after their conversation in the makeup room, Rachel stood beside a wardrobe rack while Sloane scrolled through photographs on her phone. You've seen this one, right? Rachel should have said no. Instead, she looked. A photograph showed Adrian leaving a restaurant beside a stunning brunette Rachel immediately recognized as actress Camille Laurent. The date on the entertainment article was 2 years earlier. Rachel handed the phone back. Why would I have seen it? Sloane shrugged. You said you knew his reputation. I know he dates. Oh, Camille wasn't just dating. Rachel looked at her. Sloane was studying herself in the mirror while Rachel adjusted the waist of her physician trousers. They were together almost 2 years. Rachel concentrated on the waistband. Good for them. Everybody thought she'd be the one. The one what? Sloane smiled slightly. The one who finally got Adrian Kwon to settle down. Rachel straightened. Sloane. What? You're doing it again. Doing what? Giving me information I didn't ask for. For half a second, Sloane looked caught. Then the warm smile returned. Sorry. Rachel held her eyes. Are you? Sloane's smile faded. Not completely, just enough. I don't want you hurt. Rachel folded her arms. You barely know me. I like you. You've said that. And I mean it. Rachel waited. Sloane exhaled. Fine. Maybe I'm projecting. About? Sloane looked toward the open makeup room door. Men like Adrian. Rachel almost laughed. How many men like Adrian do you know? More than you. There it was again. You work around it. Rachel felt her patience tighten. Sloane must have seen it. I don't mean that the way it sounds. It keeps sounding that way. Rachel, I appreciate the concern. Her voice remained pleasant, professional. But I don't need a warning label every time Adrian and I speak. Sloane went quiet. Rachel reached for the next wardrobe piece. Turn. Sloane turned. Rachel checked the back seam. Perfect. Done. Sloane looked at her through the mirror. Then she smiled. Okay. Rachel expected more. None came. That should have made her feel better. It didn't. That afternoon, Adrian kissed Sloane Carlyle. 6 cameras recorded it. 30 crew members watched. Rachel stood 12 feet away. Professionalism was a fascinating thing. Apparently, it could keep a woman's face completely neutral while the man she had spent Saturday morning flirting with kissed one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood directly in front of her. Cut! The director stood. Good. Let's get another. Rachel looked at her continuity photograph. Sloane's left hand had been against Adrian's chest, Adrian's right hand at her waist. Rachel noted both, because that was her job. Marisol appeared beside her. You okay? Rachel didn't look up. Why wouldn't I be? That answer means no. It means I'm working. Rachel. She finally looked at her. It is acting. I know. So do I. Okay. Rachel returned to the photograph. The assistant director called for reset. Sloane walked toward Rachel. Her lipstick needed repair. Of course it did. Rachel reached for the lip brush. Sloane sat. Neither woman spoke. Rachel carefully restored the nude rose color at the center of Sloane's mouth. Sloane watched her in the mirror. Occupational hazard. Rachel's hand paused. What? The kissing. I know how television works. Sloane smiled. I wasn't sure. Rachel capped the lipstick. Now you are. She stepped away. Sloane's eyes followed her. Rachel turned toward Adrian. His makeup needed attention too. Excellent. She crossed the set. Adrian looked at her as she approached. Rachel held up a tissue. Lipstick. He wiped his mouth. Better? No. She took the tissue. Hold still. Rachel stepped closer and removed the remaining color near his lower lip. Adrian's eyes stayed on her face. You're quiet. I'm working. That's your favorite sentence. Because people keep interrupting me while I do it. His mouth moved slightly. Rachel touched his jaw. Don't smile. You're angry. No. Jealous? Rachel's hand stopped. She stared directly into his eyes. You are at work, kissing your co-star, because it is written in the script. Yes. If I can't handle that, I have chosen the wrong industry. That wasn't an answer. Rachel resumed cleaning his mouth. You're enjoying this. Not as much as you think. She looked up. Something in his expression had changed. No teasing. Rachel dropped her hand. Why? Adrian lowered his voice. Because I was thinking about somebody else. Her pulse stumbled. That was unfair. Entirely unfair. Rachel looked around automatically. Nobody appeared to be paying attention. She stepped back. Don't say things like that here. Where? At work. He studied her, then nodded. All right. The director called everyone back. Rachel turned away. Rachel. She stopped. Adrian said quietly, Dinner. She looked over her shoulder. One real dinner. Rachel knew exactly what she should say. Instead, when? His face changed. Tonight. I can't tonight. Tomorrow. We're working. We finish at 7. If we finish at 7. 8:30. Rachel hesitated. He waited. No smile, no pressure. She sighed. One dinner. Adrian's half-smile appeared. That's all I'm asking. Somewhere public. Absolutely. No private room. Fine. No paparazzi setup. His expression hardened slightly. I would never do that to you. Rachel believed him. That was becoming the larger problem. 8:30. I'll text you. Rachel walked away before she could reconsider. Behind the camera, Sloane Carlyle was staring at them. This time Rachel saw it, and Sloane knew she saw it. Neither woman smiled. The restaurant Adrian chose was not in Beverly Hills. It was not in West Hollywood. It did not have photographers outside. It sat on a quiet block in Koreatown between a bakery and a bookstore, with warm wood around the entrance and handwritten specials posted near the door. Rachel looked at Adrian. This is your idea of an A-list dinner? He opened the door. You're disappointed? Relieved. Good. The woman behind the counter recognized him immediately, not as a celebrity. That became obvious when she walked around the counter and smacked him lightly on the arm. You don't call. Adrian smiled. Hello, Mrs. Kim. You don't call, you don't visit, then suddenly you appear when you're hungry. I was here last month. 5 weeks. Rachel covered a smile. Adrian looked at her. Rachel, this is Mrs. Kim. Mrs. Kim's attention shifted. Her expression changed instantly. Oh. Adrian closed his eyes. Rachel laughed. Hello. Mrs. Kim looked from Rachel to Adrian, then back again. You are very beautiful. Thank you. She knows, Adrian said. Rachel elbowed him. Mrs. Kim smiled broadly. I like her. You've known her 9 seconds. Enough. Rachel looked at Adrian. Apparently, I'm universally charming. Don't let it go to your head. Mrs. Kim led them toward a table. Not hidden, not private, just a booth near the back. Rachel sat across from him. You come here often. My family has been coming here since I was a teenager. That explains the assault at the door. She loves me. Clearly. Adrian smiled. My parents used to bring us after church. Rachel paused. Church? Yes. You went to church? He stared. Why is that surprising? I don't know. You've constructed a very strange biography for me. I had limited information. Apparently, Rachel laughed. A server brought water. Rachel looked around. Families, couples, 2 college students sharing something steaming at the next table. Nobody appeared to care that Adrian Kwon was sitting 20 feet away. This is nice. It is. Do people leave you alone here? Mostly. Why? Adrian shrugged. They've known me too long. Rachel understood immediately. Here, he wasn't Adrian Kwon. Not entirely. He was the boy whose parents brought him after church. The realization softened something in her. He noticed. What? Nothing. That means something. Rachel smiled. You brought me somewhere real. Adrian's expression became quieter. Yes. Why? Because you asked me to convince you I'm not a headline. Rachel stared at him. She had never used those exact words. She hadn't needed to. I didn't bring you here to impress you, he continued. I brought you because I actually like it. Rachel looked down at her menu. That was a very good answer. I've been preparing all day. She laughed. Liar. Completely. Dinner lasted almost 2 hours. Not because Adrian stretched it, because Rachel forgot to check the time. They talked about families. His parents lived outside Pasadena now. His older sister was an attorney, married with 2 children who apparently treated Adrian's fame as a useful way to obtain premiere tickets. Rachel told him about her mother teaching her to sew straight seams when she was 9, her grandmother's fabric closet, the first makeup kit Rachel bought with money from a department store counter, her years of taking jobs nobody wanted because each one gave her another credit. Adrian listened. He didn't turn every story back toward himself. That mattered. At some point, Mrs. Kim brought dessert they had not ordered. Adrian protested. She ignored him. Rachel tasted it. Oh, that's dangerous. Adrian laughed. You're eating the entire thing. We're sharing. You've taken 70%. Prove it. I work with cameras. You're off duty. So are you. Rachel smiled. That word felt strange. Off duty. She couldn't remember the last time she'd spent 2 uninterrupted hours with a man she actually liked. Maybe that was why she allowed herself to stop thinking, just temporarily. Outside, the night had cooled. Rachel stood beside her car. Adrian had parked several spaces away. Neither seemed particularly interested in leaving. That was a problem. Rachel folded her arms. That was good. Just good? Don't fish. I need affirmation. You're very fragile. Hollywood does that. She laughed. Adrian stepped closer, not touching. Rachel felt every inch that disappeared between them. 5 inches separated their heights, less in her heels. She could see his eyes clearly without tilting her head far. He looked at her. No teasing, no clever remark. Rachel's pulse began to climb. This is where I usually say goodnight, she said. Usually? You know what I mean. I do. Neither moved. Rachel should have opened her car door. She didn't. Adrian's voice lowered. Can I kiss you? The question hit harder than if he'd simply done it. Rachel searched his face. This was exactly what she had been trying to avoid. Not scandal, not headlines. This, wanting him enough to say yes. Her voice was quieter than she intended. Yes. Adrian moved slowly. One hand settled lightly at her waist. The other remained at his side. Rachel appreciated that too. Then his mouth touched hers, soft, careful, no performance, no movie star seduction, just a kiss. Rachel's hand rose almost without permission and rested against his chest. He kissed her again, a little deeper this time, warm, unhurried. Rachel forgot Sloane, forgot the call sheet, forgot every article she'd ever seen with Adrian's face beside a beautiful woman. For approximately 10 seconds, Rachel Westmoreland made the deeply irresponsible decision to simply enjoy herself. When they separated, Adrian remained close. His forehead almost touched hers. Rachel exhaled. "That was a mistake." He smiled. "No, it wasn't." "It was. You kissed me back. That is not evidence of good judgment." His laugh was soft. Rachel tried not to smile. Failed. Adrian's thumb brushed once against her waist. "Rachel." She looked at him. "I am taking you seriously." The smile left her face. There it was, the sentence she had been afraid she wanted. Rachel swallowed. "Don't say that unless you mean it." "I know. You've known me 3 weeks." "I know that too." "You don't know what this is yet." "No." That answer surprised her. Adrian continued, "But I know it isn't casual for me." Rachel stared at him. Something in her chest tightened. He could have said exactly what she wanted, could have promised ridiculous things, forever, marriage, that she was different. Instead, he gave her the truth. He didn't know yet, but he knew it mattered. That was harder to dismiss. Rachel stepped back. "I need to go home." Adrian nodded. "No argument?" "No." "You're learning." "I listen." She smiled. He opened her car door. Rachel slid inside. Before closing it, she looked up. "Adrian?" "Yes?" "No telling Mrs. Kim anything." His expression became solemn. "Rachel, Mrs. Kim already has us married with children." Rachel burst out laughing. "I knew that woman was dangerous." "Good night." "Good night." He closed the door. Rachel drove away with her lips still tingling. Monday morning, the photograph was waiting on Sloane Carlisle's phone. Rachel walked into Makeup 3 and stopped. Sloane sat in the chair. Her phone rested on the counter. The screen showed a celebrity news article. Rachel hadn't intended to look. Then she saw Adrian's face, beside Camille Laurent. The headline, "Adrian Kwon's most serious ex back in Los Angeles. Could Hollywood's favorite bachelor be reconsidering?" Rachel's stomach tightened. Sloane watched her through the mirror. "Oh." Rachel looked at her. Sloane picked up the phone. "You haven't seen this?" "No." Sloane's expression became sympathetic. Too sympathetic. "It's probably nothing." Rachel said nothing. Sloane turned the phone face down. They were photographed at the same charity event Sunday. Rachel reminded herself that Adrian had never promised not to occupy the same city as a former girlfriend. "Sloane." "I'm not saying anything." "You already did." Sloane sighed. "Rachel, I'm trying not to." "Then don't." Rachel turned toward the wardrobe rack. Sloane's voice softened behind her. "I just thought you'd rather know before someone else mentioned it." Rachel closed her eyes briefly. That was the manipulation. Not a lie. Not yet. Just information delivered at exactly the right moment. Rachel turned. "Why are you so interested in whether Adrian and I work?" For the first time, Sloane didn't have an immediate answer. Rachel watched her. Sloane smiled, but it arrived half a second late. "I'm not." Rachel held her eyes. She had spent her career making false things look real. A bruise, a wound, a silk dress that cost $80 but needed to look like $8,000. She knew the difference between reality and presentation. And suddenly Rachel understood. Sloane Carlisle didn't want to protect her. She wanted Rachel uncertain. That realization was strangely freeing. Rachel smiled. "Good." Sloane blinked. "Good?" "Yes." Rachel picked up the white coat Sloane needed for the first scene. Because I'd hate for this to become uncomfortable. She handed it to her. Sloane took it. Their eyes met. Rachel's smile remained pleasant, professional. Sloane returned it. So would I. Rachel walked out. Her phone vibrated before she reached the hallway. Adrian. Morning. A second message followed. Adrian. Dinner again this week? Rachel looked at the screen, then back toward Sloane's dressing room. A third message. Adrian. I can already hear you saying we just had dinner. Rachel smiled. She typed, We just had dinner. The response came immediately. Thursday. Rachel shook her head. We'll see. 3 dots appeared. Then, that's practically a yes. Rachel slipped the phone into her pocket. For the first time since Sloane had begun offering friendly advice, Rachel didn't feel the urge to retreat. If Adrian Kwon was going to disappoint her, she would let Adrian Kwon do it. She was done letting Sloane Carlyle do it for him. Rachel discovered something inconvenient after kissing Adrian Kwon. He became easier to work with. She had expected the opposite. Awkwardness, lingering looks, some unbearable increase in flirting that would force her to remind him they were professionals every 12 minutes. Instead, Adrian seemed to understand exactly what she needed. On set, nothing changed. He sat in her chair when instructed, turned his head when asked, hit his marks, did not find imaginary reasons to visit wardrobe, did not mention their kiss, did not ask when she planned to kiss him again. He was, Rachel thought suspiciously, behaving beautifully, which meant she spent considerably more time thinking about him. That man is playing chess. Rachel looked up from a rack of surgical gowns. Marisol stood beside her with both arms crossed. What? He backed off. He's working. Exactly. Rachel frowned. What exactly are you accusing him of? Being smart. That is usually considered positive. Not when a gorgeous man realizes chasing you makes you nervous, so he stops chasing and lets you notice you miss him. Rachel stared. Marisol nodded solemnly. Chess. Go away. You miss him. I saw him 12 minutes ago. And yet, Rachel pushed the rack toward her. You have entirely too much free time. I work 14-hour days. Then use all 14. Marisol laughed and walked off. Rachel watched her go, then looked through the open doorway toward stage 12. Adrian stood beside the director reviewing a scene. He hadn't looked toward her once. Rachel immediately became annoyed. Not with him, with herself. Chess my ass. Her mood did not improve when Sloane Carlyle arrived for her fitting. Sloane had been pleasant for 2 days, almost conspicuously pleasant. No Adrian warnings, no ex-girlfriend photographs, no observations about Hollywood. Rachel had begun hoping their previous tension had settled. She should have known better. Sloane stood on the fitting platform wearing a fitted navy dress while Rachel pinned the waist. I love this. It photographs well. Can I keep it? No. Everything I love, you take away. That is literally my job. Sloane smiled at herself in the mirror. Then, casually, so how was Mrs. Kim's? Rachel's fingers stopped, very briefly. Sloane caught it in the mirror. Rachel resumed pinning. Excuse me? The restaurant. I know who Mrs. Kim is. Adrian took you there, didn't he? Rachel straightened slowly. How do you know that? Sloane shrugged. Small town? Los Angeles? Hollywood. Rachel stared at her reflection. Sloane's expression remained easy. I've been there. With Adrian? No, years ago with friends. Rachel waited. Sloane turned slightly so Rachel could check the side seam. Camille used to love it. There it was. Rachel continued working. Sloane. What? I'm not discussing Adrian's ex-girlfriends with you. I wasn't trying to. You were. Sloane exhaled. Okay. Rachel removed a pin and repositioned it. Sloane remained quiet for nearly 30 seconds. Then, I just didn't want you thinking he only takes someone there when it's serious. Rachel closed her eyes. 1 second. That was all she allowed herself. Then she looked up. Did he take Camille there? Sloane's gaze met hers in the mirror. I assumed he did. That's not what you said. I said she loved it. You said it immediately after asking whether Adrian took me there. Sloane turned. Rachel stepped back before the pins could catch. Careful. Rachel, I wasn't trying to upset you. No. Rachel held her eyes. You were trying to make me wonder. The room became very still. Sloane stared at her. For the first time, the polished response did not arrive immediately. Then she laughed softly. You think I'm manipulating you? I think you're very good with words. I make my living with them. So do publicists. Sloane's mouth tightened. Rachel removed the remaining pins from between her lips and placed them on the table. Turn back around. Sloane didn't. This is about Adrian. Obviously. You think I want him? Rachel considered lying. Instead, yes. Sloane's eyebrows rose. Well? You asked. I appreciate honesty. Good. Sloane crossed her arms. And if I do? Rachel looked at her. That would be between you and Adrian. The answer seemed to irritate her. Rachel almost smiled. Sloane said, You're not bothered? That you're attracted to him? Yes. Rachel shrugged. You're a heterosexual woman with functioning eyes. Sloane actually laughed. Rachel continued, What would bother me is you pretending concern for my career when you're really trying to discourage me. The laughter disappeared. Sloane stepped from the platform. You don't know me well enough to decide what I'm really doing. You're right, Rachel smiled politely. So I'll stop guessing if you'll stop advising. They held each other's gaze. Then Sloane nodded. Fair. Rachel handed her the garment bag. Your revised dress will be ready Friday. Sloane took it. At the doorway, she stopped. Rachel? Yes? Camille did love that restaurant. Rachel didn't respond. Sloane smiled, then left. Rachel stared at the empty doorway. Woman. She found Adrian 20 minutes later. Not because she was jealous. That distinction mattered to Rachel. She found him because she disliked being manipulated with incomplete information. At least that was what she told herself. Adrian was alone in his trailer reading the next day's script when Rachel knocked once and entered. He looked up. Either I'm in trouble or something ripped. Why? You came to me. Rachel closed the door. Adrian set the script aside. What happened? Did you take Camille Laurent to Mrs. Kim's restaurant? His eyebrows lifted. That was enough to make Rachel feel ridiculous. Adrian leaned back. Hello to you too. Adrian. No. The answer was immediate. Rachel stared. No? No. Never? Never. She folded her arms. Did she go there? I have no idea. Rachel sighed. Adrian studied her. Who told you I took Camille there? She didn't technically tell me that. His face changed. Sloane. Rachel looked away. That was fast. She has been talking to you about Camille? Occasionally. How occasionally? Rachel didn't answer. Adrian stood. She immediately noticed he was wearing the charcoal scrub pants Rachel had approved that morning, completely irrelevant. He came closer. What has Sloane been telling you? Nothing that's technically untrue. That is a very specific answer. Rachel sighed. She warned me about your dating history. I have one. The studio pairing you with her. They are. Camille being back in Los Angeles. She is. Your reputation. Also real. Rachel looked at him. That is why it's effective. Adrian's jaw tightened. Not at Rachel. She could see that. She shouldn't be doing that. No. Why didn't you tell me? Rachel laughed once. And say what? Your co-star keeps reminding me you've slept with beautiful women? Adrian's eyebrow rose. Rachel immediately pointed at him. That is not the part of that sentence to focus on. I didn't say anything. Your face did. He almost smiled, then became serious. Rachel. What? You could have asked me. I just did. About all of it. Her expression softened slightly. Adrian continued. I don't care what Sloane says about my history because I can't change it. But if she tells you something about me and it affects how you see me, ask me." Rachel looked down. "That sounds reasonable." "I try occasionally." She smiled. Adrian stepped closer. "Camille and I dated for 19 months. Rachel looked up. "You don't have to." "I know." He continued anyway. "She was important to me. We broke up because eventually we wanted different things, and neither of us was willing to become resentful trying to force it." Rachel listened. "I haven't seen her privately since. We were at the same charity event Sunday. We said hello." "That was it?" "That was it." "And Mrs. Kim?" His mouth curved slightly. "I don't take dates there." Rachel's heart did something unfortunate. She tried not to react, failed enough that Adrian saw it. His smile grew. "Don't." "I haven't said anything." "You don't have to." "Rachel." "What?" "I brought you there because I wanted to." That was worse. She looked away. "Fine." "Fine?" "Thank you for clarifying." She reached for the door. Adrian caught her hand. Not hard, just enough. Rachel looked down at their fingers, then back at him. He released her immediately. "Wait," she did. "Are we still having dinner Thursday?" Rachel stared. "Yes." His shoulders relaxed. That tiny reaction got her. "You thought I was going to cancel." "I considered the possibility." "You looked nervous." "I do not get nervous." Rachel smiled slowly. "Oh." Adrian narrowed his eyes. "Don't." Hollywood's Most Eligible Bachelor was worried I might cancel a date. "Rachel." "This is excellent," he sighed. "I preferred you defensive." "No, you didn't." "No." His eyes softened. "I really didn't." The humor between them faded naturally. Rachel became aware of how close they were standing. Again. Adrian looked at her mouth, then her eyes. "Are we at work?" Rachel whispered. "Yes." "Right." Neither moved. Rachel smiled. "Very professional." "Extremely." She opened the trailer door. Adrian let her leave. She had almost reached the stairs when he called, "Rachel?" She turned. "Thursday." "Yes." "Don't let Sloane cancel it." Rachel's eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" "Nothing." "Adrian." He smiled and closed the door. Rachel stared at it. That family raised a menace. Thursday at 6:30, Sloane requested an emergency fitting. Rachel stood in the middle of wardrobe staring at the message on her tablet. Marisol read it over her shoulder. "Oh, hell no." Rachel looked at her. "What?" "Chess has spread." "Stop calling everything chess." "Sloane knows you're leaving tonight." Rachel frowned. "How?" "Everybody knows everybody's schedule." She requested a fitting. "At 6:30. We finish at 7. For a dress she doesn't wear until next Tuesday." Rachel looked at the notes. Marisol was right. That irritated her more. "Maybe she's unavailable tomorrow." Marisol stared. "Do you want me to find out?" "No." Rachel handed her the tablet. "We'll fit her." Marisol groaned. "Rachel." "She is the lead actress. If she requests a fitting, we fit her." "And your date?" "Is at 8:30. "Assuming this doesn't magically become 2 hours." Rachel smiled. "It won't." Sloane arrived at 6:34, with 3 dresses. Rachel smiled. "Sloane." "Sorry, I know it's late." "No problem." Something in Rachel's tone made Marisol turn away to hide a grin. Sloane held up the first dress. "Wardrobe asked me to choose." "Wardrobe is me." Sloane paused. Rachel smiled pleasantly. "Let's start." The first dress fit, the second dress fit, the third dress fit. Sloane found concerns with all 3. Rachel addressed each one. At 6:57, Sloane stood in front of the mirror studying the neckline of a dress that required absolutely no adjustment. "I'm just not sure." Rachel looked at the clock. "About?" "The bust." It's fitted correctly. It feels slightly loose. Rachel walked over, checked it, and stepped back. It isn't. Sloane looked at her reflection. What if we take it in a 1/4 inch? It will pull when you sit. What about an 1/8? Rachel smiled. No. Sloane looked at her. Rachel continued. The dress fits. If you'd like a different silhouette, we can review options tomorrow morning. I thought we could finish tonight. We are finished. There it was. Boundary. Sloane smiled. Of course. Rachel helped her out of the dress. At 7:04, Sloane was changed. At 7:06, she was still talking. At 7:08, Rachel handed her bag to her. Good night, Sloane. Sloane laughed. You're throwing me out. Politely. Sloane looked at Rachel, then at the clock. Something like understanding crossed her face. Plans? Yes. With Adrian? Rachel paused. She could have lied. Instead, yes. Sloane's expression froze. Barely. Rachel saw it. Then the actress smiled. Have fun. We will. Rachel smiled back. Good night. Sloane walked out. Marisol waited until the door shut, then whispered, Damn. Rachel looked at her. What? You just told that woman to get out of your department so you could go on a date with the man she wants. I told her the fitting was finished. With authority. I have authority. Marisol put one hand over her heart. I've never been prouder. Rachel laughed. Go home. Their second date was simpler. Adrian met her at a small outdoor restaurant near Griffith Park. No Mrs. Kim, no history lesson, no attempt to impress. Just food, warm night air, and a table beneath strings of lights. Rachel arrived 6 minutes late. Adrian looked at his watch. She sat. Say it, and I leave. I was going to tell you that you look beautiful. Oh, you ruined it. Try again. He smiled. You look beautiful. Rachel wore dark, wide-leg trousers, a rust silk blouse, and bronze heels. Her short hair was softly waved. Cowrie shells and hammered metal rested against one wrist. Thank you. Adrian reached across the table. Not dramatically, just opened his hand. Rachel looked at it, then placed hers inside. His fingers closed around hers. That was all. Somehow it felt more intimate than the first kiss. Rachel looked at their hands. We're holding hands now? Apparently. When did this development occur? Thursday, around 8:40. She laughed. He didn't let go. Neither did she. Dinner moved easily. Rachel told him about Sloane's fitting. Adrian's expression darkened. She did that deliberately. Probably. And you still fitted her. She needed fitting. She did not. Rachel laughed. You don't know that. I've been wearing costumes for 20 years. Nobody urgently needs 3 dresses fitted at 6:30 at night. Thank you, Mr. Wardrobe. I'm available. You're not. He smiled. Then his thumb moved slowly over the back of her hand. Rachel's attention dropped. That's distracting. Good. She looked up. Is this the part where your excellent behavior ends? Maybe. Rachel smiled. You lasted almost a week. Heroic. After dinner they walked. That had not been planned. Rachel liked that. The sidewalk curved along a quieter street beneath trees and old street lamps. Adrian wore a baseball cap, but no sunglasses. A few people recognized him. One woman asked for a photograph. He smiled, took it, and returned to Rachel. Nobody asked who she was. Rachel noticed. Adrian did too. You okay? Yes. You tensed. I did not. You did. Rachel sighed. I was waiting. For? The question. Who are you? Yes. Adrian's expression softened. Rachel continued walking. I don't know what I would say. My date. Her heart kicked. That's very confident. Is it inaccurate? Rachel considered it. No. Adrian smiled. She shook her head. Don't look so pleased. I have been working very hard. For 2 dates. 3 coffees. Those don't count. 1 chicken dinner. Definitely doesn't count. You're impossible, and yet you're holding my hand. Rachel looked down. At some point, their fingers had intertwined. She hadn't noticed when. That unsettled her, in a good way, which was worse. Adrian stopped beneath one of the trees. Rachel turned. What? He reached up and touched one of her earrings lightly, a hammered bronze crescent. You always wear these. Not these specifically. The metal. Bronze? And shells. Rachel touched the cowrie pendant at her throat. My grandmother. She wore them? She collected them. Adrian's fingers lowered. Rachel smiled. She used to tell me cowries carried protection and prosperity. Do you believe that? I believe she did. And that matters. Yes. Adrian looked at the shell, then at Rachel. That explains why you touch it when you're nervous. Rachel froze. What? His mouth curved. You do. No, I don't. You do. When? Before your first day. At the network dinner. When you asked me whether I get lonely. Rachel stared. You've been monitoring me. I notice you. The teasing disappeared from her face. Adrian's expression changed too. I notice you, he repeated quietly. Rachel's throat tightened. He stepped closer. This time she did not think about whether they were in public. She did not think about Sloane, or Camille, or headlines. Adrian's hand came gently to the side of her neck. Rachel rested one palm against his chest. When he kissed her, she met him immediately. No hesitation this time. The kiss was warm and slow, familiar already. That frightened her almost as much as wanting it. Adrian pulled back just enough to look at her. Rachel whispered, You're becoming very difficult to resist. His eyes warmed. That sounds promising. It was not intended as encouragement. I'll take what I can get. She laughed softly. Then he kissed her forehead. Rachel went still. That did something completely different. Less heat, more intimacy, more dangerous. She looked at him. Adrian seemed unaware he'd done anything extraordinary. Maybe he hadn't. Maybe that was why it mattered. Rachel slipped her hand into his again. Walk me back. Yes, ma'am. Don't call me ma'am. Yes, director. Worse. He laughed. They walked back toward the restaurant. Neither saw the dark sedan parked across the street. Sloane was still on the studio lot when Rachel returned to pick up the tablet she'd left in wardrobe. That was the lie Rachel told herself later, that if she'd remembered the tablet earlier, none of it would have happened. She entered through the side door at 10:47. Most of the stage was dark. Rachel found her tablet exactly where she'd left it. Her phone buzzed. Adrian. You left your earrings in? Rachel frowned. She touched both ears. Still there. Rachel. Yes. His reply. Adrian. Good. I like those. Rachel smiled. You came back. She startled. Sloane stood in the doorway. Rachel immediately locked her phone. Yes, forgot something. Sloane glanced at the tablet. Good date? Rachel looked at her. There was no reason to answer. Maybe that was why she did. Yes. Sloane's smile appeared. I'm glad. Rachel didn't believe her anymore. That changed everything. Good night, Sloane. Good night. Rachel walked past her. Outside, she reached the parking structure. Adrian stood beside her car. Rachel stopped. What are you doing here? He held up a small bronze bracelet. You left this at the restaurant. Rachel looked at her wrist. One of her stacked bracelets was missing. You drove back? I was closer than you. She smiled. You could have given it to me tomorrow. I could have. He stepped closer and took her wrist. Rachel watched as he fastened the bracelet. His fingers were careful. You're ridiculous. I've heard. He didn't release her hand. Rachel looked up. Adrian. What? We have call in 7 hours. I can count. You should go home. Probably. Neither moved. Rachel smiled, then leaned forward and kissed him. Her decision. Adrian made a quiet, surprised sound before his hand settled at her waist. Rachel smiled against his mouth. There, she liked surprising him. When she pulled away, Adrian stared at her. That was new. Don't get accustomed to it. Too late. Rachel laughed. Then she saw movement beyond his shoulder. The smile left her face. Sloane stood near the parking structure entrance, still, watching. Adrian turned. For one suspended second, nobody spoke. Sloane's expression changed almost instantly. The surprise disappeared. The smile arrived. Perfect. Polished. Sorry, her voice was light. I didn't mean to interrupt. Rachel said nothing. Adrian's hand was still resting at her waist. He did not remove it. Sloane noticed. Good night. She turned and walked away. Rachel watched her disappear. Adrian looked down at her. Well, Rachel exhaled. She knows. She already knew. No. Rachel shook her head. Before, she suspected. Adrian studied her face. And now? Rachel looked toward the doorway where Sloane had disappeared. Now she knows. Something cold settled in Rachel's stomach. Not shame, not regret. Instinct. Adrian touched her arm. Don't let her ruin tonight. Rachel looked at him, then at the bracelet he'd driven back to return. She smiled. I won't. But on the drive home, Rachel couldn't stop seeing Sloane's face. Not the expression she'd worn when she discovered them, the one that came immediately after. That perfect smile, the one Sloane Carlyle put on when she didn't want anyone to know what she was really feeling. Adrian's publicist called the next afternoon. Are you going to Evan Bell's party tonight? No. Silence. Then, that's twice. Adrian looked up from the script on his patio. Twice what? You've declined 2 major industry events in 2 weeks. I'm working. Everyone there is working. I don't want to go. Another pause. Is this about Rachel Westmoreland? Adrian's eyes narrowed. How do you know Rachel's name? Because I do my job. That wasn't an answer. No, it's because your assistant has eyes. Adrian sighed. Nothing stayed private in Hollywood. He should have found that irritating. Instead, he thought about Rachel kissing him first in the parking garage. His mouth curved. His publicist heard the silence. Oh, God. What? You like her? Yes. The answer came without thought. That silenced both of them. Adrian sat back. Interesting. His publicist recovered first. How much? Adrian looked toward the city. I don't know. That's encouraging. Why? Usually you know. Adrian frowned. She was right. He had always known the parameters. Attraction, dating, exclusive, not exclusive, serious, not serious. Even when relationships mattered, Adrian had understood what he was willing to give. Rachel had disrupted that. He found himself wanting things before deciding whether he wanted them. Another dinner, her hand in his, her laughter in his house someday, her makeup case on a bathroom counter. The thought arrived so naturally that Adrian went still. His publicist was saying something. He hadn't heard it. Adrian? Sorry. What? Nothing. But it wasn't nothing. He looked down at his script. His publicist said, The studio likes the Bachelor image. It makes the Sloane publicity easier. Adrian's jaw tightened. I don't care about the Bachelor image. You've never minded it before. No. He hadn't. That was the strange part. For years, Hollywood's Most Eligible Bachelor had been harmless, amusing, sometimes useful, a headline that required nothing from him. Now it suddenly felt like an accusation. His publicist continued, If you're seriously seeing Rachel, we need to discuss strategy before someone else controls the story. Adrian looked toward the window. He thought about Rachel's first warning. You remain the movie star. I become the woman who slept with him. No strategy. What? Not yet. Adrian. She gets to decide when her private life becomes public. Silence. Then, carefully, "You are serious?" Adrian didn't answer immediately, because for the first time, the word didn't feel restrictive. It felt accurate. He looked down at the bronze-colored thread caught against the sleeve of his jacket, probably from Rachel's bracelet when he'd fastened it. He pulled it free and smiled. "Yes." There it was. No panic, no urge to qualify it, just the truth. "Yes," Adrian repeated. "I think I am." Rachel knew something was wrong before anyone told her. People were too polite. That was always the first sign. She walked onto stage 12 at 5:12 Monday morning, carrying a garment bag over one shoulder and coffee in the other hand. Two production assistants near the entrance stopped talking, not lowered their voices, stopped. Rachel looked at them. "Morning?" "Morning, Rachel." Too cheerful. She kept walking. Near wardrobe, one of the hairstylists glanced at her phone, then immediately turned the screen face down. Rachel stopped. "All right." Nobody moved. Rachel set her coffee on the counter. "What happened?" Marisol appeared from makeup too. Her face answered the question before her mouth did. "Oh, no." Rachel's stomach tightened. "What?" Marisol came closer. "Don't react until you read it. That is never how good news begins." "Rachel, give me the phone." Marisol hesitated. Rachel held out her hand. "Now." The article was already open. Rachel saw Adrian's name first, then hers. Her stomach dropped. Adrian Kwon's secret on-set romance. Did makeup boss target Hollywood's most eligible bachelor before landing dream job? For several seconds, Rachel simply stared. The words didn't connect, not properly. Then she began reading. The article claimed that multiple production sources had witnessed Rachel and Adrian becoming unusually close almost immediately after filming began. It described her as a makeup artist, not director, not department head, makeup artist. Rachel's jaw tightened. The piece alleged that she had personally positioned herself to work with Adrian despite having staff available. It mentioned private coffee meetings, late-night dinners, a kiss in the studio parking structure. Rachel stopped breathing. Marisol whispered, "Keep reading." She did. The article suggested Rachel may have known Adrian was being considered for the role before accepting the production position, that she had pursued unusually direct access to him, that members of the crew had questioned whether professional boundaries were being blurred. One anonymous source supposedly said, "She made sure she was always the one touching up his makeup or fixing his clothes. Everybody noticed." Rachel's hand began to shake. Marisol took the coffee from the counter before Rachel knocked it over. Then Rachel reached the sentence that did the damage. The article noted that Adrian and Sloane Carlyle had been expected to become Hollywood's next major power couple after filming began, but claimed Rachel had quickly inserted herself between the two stars. Inserted herself. Rachel lowered the phone. "No." Marisol's face hardened. "I know. No." Rachel looked around the department. People were pretending not to watch. Her employees, her team, people she supervised. Rachel handed the phone back. "Who has seen it?" Marisol's expression told her everything. "Everybody?" "It went up around 4. Rachel closed her eyes. Of course it had. Early enough to dominate the morning entertainment cycle, late enough that nobody could respond before call. Professional, calculated. Rachel opened her eyes. "Where's Adrian?" "Not here yet." "Good." "Rachel." "I said good." She picked up her coffee. Her fingers were steady now. That frightened Marisol more. "I have a department to run." "Do you want me to?" "No." "Take 5 minutes." "No." Rachel looked at her. "If I disappear into an office now, everybody spends the next hour wondering whether I'm crying." Marisol lowered her voice. "Are you?" "Not here." That ended it. Rachel picked up the garment bag. "Where are Sloane's episode 6 dresses?" Marisol stared at her. "Rachel." "Rack C?" "Rack C." "Good." Rachel walked away. At 5:26, Adrian arrived. Rachel knew because the entire hallway changed. Again. But this time, there was no excitement. There was tension. She was checking a supporting actor's coat when Adrian entered wardrobe. "Rachel." She didn't look up. "Morning. Can we talk?" "I'm working." "Now." That made her raise her eyes. His face was controlled. Barely. Rachel had never seen Adrian truly angry. Now she understood why. His anger wasn't loud. It made him quieter. His assistant stood several feet behind him. Beside the doorway was a woman Rachel recognized as Leah Morgan, Adrian's longtime publicist. This had already become a meeting. Rachel handed the coat back to the actor. "Marisol." "I've got it." Rachel walked toward her office. Adrian followed. Leah followed him. Rachel stopped at the door. "No." Leah blinked. Rachel looked at her. "Give us 5 minutes." Adrian said, "Rachel, 5. Leah studied her, then nodded. "I'll be outside." Rachel closed the door. Adrian immediately said, "I'm sorry." She stared. "For what?" "This." "Did you write it?" "No." "Then don't apologize for somebody else's behavior." His jaw tightened. "Rachel." She put both hands on her desk. "Did you read all of it?" "Yes." "The part where apparently I manipulated my way onto a $15 million production because I somehow knew you might be cast?" "Yes." "The part where I inserted myself between you and Sloan?" "Yes." "The part where I apparently spend my working day trying to touch you?" His face changed. "Rachel, stop." "Why? That's what it says." "I know what it says." "Do you?" Her voice finally cracked. Adrian went still. Rachel looked away. "Damn it." She pressed her lips together. "I knew this could happen." "I know. I told you." "Yes. And I still—" She stopped. Adrian came closer. Rachel immediately stepped back. Not because she didn't want him near her, because somebody could walk through the door. That realization almost broke her. Adrian saw it. His expression hardened. Not at her, at the situation. "They did exactly what you said they would." Rachel laughed once, without humor. "You stay Adrian Kwon." He said nothing. "And I'm the woman who got close to Adrian Kwon." "No. That is what people are reading." "That doesn't make it true." "It doesn't have to be true." The sentence hung between them. Rachel looked at him. "It has to be believable." Adrian's face went still, and unfortunately, the article was, not because Rachel had done anything wrong, because it used pieces of the truth. She had worked on him personally. They had gone for coffee. They had gone to dinner. They had kissed in the parking garage. Every legitimate professional interaction could now be reinterpreted through the ugliest possible lens. Rachel sank into her chair. For the first time that morning, she looked tired. Adrian crouched in front of her, not touching, just there. "Look at me." She didn't. "Rachel." She finally did. "I can shut this down." "How?" "Lawyers. Leah. The studio." "The studio?" Her laugh was bitter. "The studio has spent 3 weeks selling you and Sloan as a fantasy couple. That has nothing to do with this. It has everything to do with this." Adrian stood. "Then I'll release a statement." "No." "Yes." "No." "Rachel, you defend me publicly today, and by lunch the headline becomes Adrian Kwon rushes to protect mystery lover." He stopped. Rachel continued. "Then they'll dig harder." "I don't care." "I do." He stared. "This isn't only your life." The word struck him. Rachel softened immediately. "I know you're trying to help. I am not going to stand there while somebody destroys your reputation." "Then don't make it worse." He turned away, jaw clenched. Rachel watched him. He hated this. She knew that. He was a man accustomed to having resources, money, lawyers, publicists, influence, and none of them could erase a story quickly enough to prevent people from believing it. A knock sounded. Leah opened the door halfway. "Sorry, studio wants Adrian upstairs in 10. Adrian looked at Rachel. "No." Leah frowned. "No what?" "I'm not going upstairs while she's here dealing with this." Rachel stood. "Yes, you are." His head turned. "Rachel, you have a scene at 6. That's irrelevant." "It is not irrelevant to me." He stared at her. Rachel stepped closer. "You want to help?" "Yes." "Do your job." His jaw shifted. "Do not give anybody a reason to say I'm interfering with production." Adrian held her gaze, then nodded once. "Fine." Leah stepped aside. Before leaving, Adrian lowered his voice. "This conversation isn't finished." Rachel's mouth almost smiled. "Apparently none of ours ever are." He left. Leah remained. Rachel looked at her. "What?" "I need to know what you'd like us to say." "Nothing yet." Leah nodded slowly. "That would be my recommendation too." Rachel hadn't expected that. Leah came inside and closed the door. "Adrian wants to burn down the internet." Despite herself, Rachel smiled. "I gathered." "He can't." "No. But we can correct facts." Rachel looked at her. "Which ones?" "You were hired before Adrian signed his contract." Rachel froze. "What?" Leah frowned. "You didn't know?" "I knew I was already interviewing before the final cast list was announced." "No, Rachel." Leah leaned against the desk. "Your deal was finalized 6 weeks before Adrian's." Rachel stared. Something shifted. "The article says I knew he was being considered. The studio hadn't even formally approached him when your department contract was approved." Rachel slowly sat back down. "Can we prove that?" Leah gave her a look. "This is Hollywood. We can prove when somebody ordered bottled water." Rachel almost laughed. "Almost." Leah continued. "Your signed agreement is dated. His is dated. Production records exist." Relief tried to rise. Rachel stopped it. "That kills one allegation. The central one. Not the rest." "No." Leah's expression softened. "But it matters." Rachel nodded. "Don't release anything without talking to me." "I won't." "And Leah?" "Yes?" "Who gave them the parking garage kiss?" Leah's expression changed. "That is the question." Rachel already knew the answer, or believed she did. There had been 3 people in that garage: Rachel, Adrian, Sloane. Sloane arrived at 5:48. Rachel was waiting. Not dramatically. She was standing beside Sloane's makeup chair reviewing continuity when the actress entered. Sloane took one look at her and stopped. "Rachel?" Rachel smiled professionally. "Good morning." "Oh my God." Sloane set her bag down. "I just saw it in the car." Rachel said nothing. Sloane approached. "This is awful." "Is it?" Sloane's expression faltered. Rachel watched carefully. "I mean, yes." "Interesting article." "Rachel, you can't think I had anything to do with that." Rachel set down the tablet. "I didn't say you did." "You didn't have to." "No." Rachel folded her arms. "You're the only person who saw us in the parking structure." Sloane went very still. "That doesn't mean I told anyone." "It means you could. So could security." "Could they?" "Rachel, you knew about Mrs. Kim's." Sloane's face tightened. "You knew about Camille. Everybody knows about Camille. You knew when Adrian and I were having dinner. This is a set. People talk." Rachel nodded. "Yes, they do." For the first time, Sloane looked angry. Not jealous. Angry. "You've decided I'm some kind of villain because Adrian likes you." "No." Rachel's voice remained calm. "I decided you wanted me unsure of him." "That isn't the same as leaking something." "No, it isn't." Rachel held her eyes. "So tell me you didn't." Sloane stared. Then, "I didn't leak that article." Rachel listened carefully. Not "I didn't tell anyone." Not I didn't talk about you. I didn't leak that article. Precise language. Actress language. Rachel almost admired it. Okay. Sloane blinked. Okay? Yes. Rachel picked up her tablet. We have a 6 o'clock call. You believe me? Rachel looked at her. I heard you. Then she turned toward the mirror. Sit. Hair needs you in 10. Sloane sat. The tension remained. Rachel went back to work. By noon, the article had spread everywhere. Rachel made the mistake of opening social media once, never again. Some people defended her. Others called her ambitious, as though it were an accusation. Someone had found her professional website. Someone else had posted a photograph from an awards event 3 years earlier. A stranger had written, she knew exactly what she was doing. Rachel stared at the sentence. They didn't know anything about her, and somehow that didn't matter. Her phone rang. Mom. Rachel closed her eyes. Of course, she answered. Hi, Ma. Baby. That was all it took. Rachel's throat closed. She stood quickly and walked outside the department. I'm okay. I know you are. Her mother's voice was firm. I didn't call because I think you're not. Rachel leaned against the hallway wall. They're lying. I know. They're making it sound like I know who my daughter is. Rachel closed her eyes. Her mother continued. You worked too hard for too many years for some fool with a website to tell me how you got there. Rachel laughed through the tears threatening her eyes. Don't cry. I'm not. You sound like you're crying. I inherited that from you. Probably. Rachel wiped beneath one eye carefully. Her mother lowered her voice. Is he worth this? Rachel went still. There it was, the question she hadn't allowed herself to ask. Ma, I didn't say leave him. Rachel stared at the blank wall. I asked if he's worth it. Rachel thought about Mrs. Kim, the bronze bracelet, Adrian listening when she talked about her grandmother's fabric, his hand holding hers beneath the restaurant lights. You're becoming the person I look for. I don't know yet. Her mother was quiet. Then, that's an honest answer. Rachel exhaled. I have to go. I love you. I love you too. And Rachel? Yes? Don't let people who don't know you make decisions for you. Rachel closed her eyes. Okay. She disconnected. When she turned around, Adrian stood at the end of the hallway. Rachel didn't know how long he'd been there. Long enough. He approached slowly. You okay? She laughed softly. Everybody keeps asking me that. Because we care. That word landed. We. Rachel looked toward the stage doors. Did the studio say anything? They want me to say nothing until legal reviews the claims. Good. I hate it. I know. He stopped in front of her, close enough that Rachel wanted to touch him, far enough that she didn't have to. My mother asked if you're worth it. Adrian went still. Rachel hadn't intended to tell him that, but there it was. What did you say? I said I don't know yet. His expression didn't change. Rachel searched his face. You're not offended? No. Most men would be. I've known you less than a month. She stared. Adrian continued quietly. I'd be more worried if you already thought you knew. Rachel felt something inside her soften. Again. Always again. He smiled faintly. I intend to improve my position. There he was. Rachel laughed. Of course you do. His eyes warmed. Then the stage door opened. A production assistant appeared. Adrian, they're ready. He nodded. Coming. The assistant disappeared. Adrian looked back at Rachel. Dinner tonight? Her eyebrows rose. Tonight? Yes. After this? Especially after this. Rachel almost said no. Then she heard her mother's voice. Don't let people who don't know you make decisions for you. Rachel nodded. Dinner. Adrian's shoulders relaxed. But somewhere boring. How boring? Takeout. My place? Rachel hesitated. His house, private, no audience, no photographers, no Sloan. Yes, Adrian smiled. 7:30. 8. Rachel. I have a department. 8. He left. Rachel watched him go. For the first time all day, she felt something close to steady. At 4:16 that afternoon, the second article appeared. This one was worse. Marisol didn't bring it to her. The executive producer did. He asked Rachel to come to his office. She knew before she sat down. The article had expanded the accusations. A source close to production now claimed Rachel had given Adrian preferential treatment from the first week of filming. Another claimed their relationship had begun before production officially started. That was demonstrably false. But the final paragraph was the one that made Rachel's blood run cold. According to the source, several crew members had questioned whether Rachel could continue fairly supervising wardrobe and makeup while romantically involved with the show's biggest star. Rachel looked up from the tablet. The executive producer, Martin Hale, looked genuinely uncomfortable. Rachel, I want to be very clear. Nobody has filed a complaint. Then why am I here? Because the studio is concerned about perception. There it was. Perception. The word that destroyed careers while everybody pretended facts mattered. Rachel set the tablet down. Has my work been deficient? No. Has Adrian received anything other cast members haven't? No. Has anyone on my team complained about my management? No. Have I missed a deadline? No. Gone over budget? No. Martin sighed. Rachel. Then what exactly are we discussing? He looked at her. The studio may want a temporary reporting adjustment. Her stomach dropped. What does that mean? Someone else signing off on Adrian's wardrobe and makeup. Rachel stared at him. There it was. The first real consequence. Not Adrian's, hers. Exactly as she predicted. Martin kept talking. It wouldn't be disciplinary. Rachel laughed. Of course not. Rachel, you would remove one of my principal responsibilities because a tabloid accused me of doing something you know I didn't do. Temporarily. That is discipline. Silence. Rachel stood. Has Adrian been removed from anything? Martin's face tightened. That isn't comparable. No. Rachel picked up her tablet. It isn't. She walked toward the door. Rachel. She stopped. Martin's voice softened. I am trying to protect your position. She looked back. I know. And she did. That was almost worse. Because Martin wasn't the enemy. He was explaining the math. Adrian was the star. Rachel was replaceable. She left. Sloan stood at the end of the hallway, waiting for her scene. Rachel stopped. For a moment, neither woman spoke. Then Sloan gave her a sympathetic smile. Everything okay? Rachel looked at her. At that perfect face, perfect hair, perfect concern, and suddenly she was tired. No. Sloan's smile faded. Rachel walked closer. Actually, it isn't. Sloan lowered her voice. Rachel, I'm sorry. I heard they're talking about taking Adrian out of your department temporarily. Rachel stopped. Completely. Sloan's expression changed. Just slightly. Too late. Rachel stared at her. What did you say? Sloan blinked. I said I heard the studio was... No. Rachel stepped closer. What did you just say? Sloan's eyes flickered toward the stage. Rachel repeated it for her. Taking Adrian out of my department. Silence. Rachel felt the humiliation of Martin's office disappear beneath something colder, sharper. Martin had not said Rachel was being removed. He had not said her departments were being reassigned. He had described one very specific possibility, someone else temporarily signing off on Adrian's wardrobe and makeup. Rachel had walked directly from Martin's office into this hallway. She had told nobody, not Marisol, not Adrian, not Leah, nobody. Sloan recovered. I must have misunderstood what I heard. From whom? I don't know. People have been talking all afternoon. About a meeting that ended 3 minutes ago? Sloane went still. Rachel glanced at the clock mounted over the stage doors, then back at her. I haven't even been back to my department yet. Sloane's mouth tightened. Rachel, you're upset. Yes. But that doesn't mean… No. Rachel's voice became very calm. Don't do that. Do what? Make my reaction the problem because you don't have an explanation. For the first time, the perfect smile disappeared entirely. Sloane looked at her, really looked at her. Rachel continued. Martin told me privately that the studio might have someone else sign off specifically on Adrian's wardrobe and makeup. Sloane said nothing. You just described that conversation almost word for word. I did not. You knew it was Adrian. Obviously it would be Adrian. That's what the article is about. You knew it was temporary. Sloane opened her mouth. Rachel didn't let her speak. And you knew they weren't talking about removing me entirely. That did it. A tiny flash crossed Sloane's face. Not fear. Calculation. Rachel saw her deciding which answer would cause the least damage. That was more revealing than any answer could have been. Finally, Sloane said, Maybe Martin spoke to someone. Maybe. He's an executive producer. He talks to people. Of course. Rachel nodded slowly. And maybe one of those people told you within 3 minutes. Sloane's jaw tightened. The assistant director called from inside the stage. Sloane, we're ready. Neither woman moved. Rachel looked into those blue-gray eyes. Weeks of little moments rearranged themselves. Mrs. Kim, Camille, the warnings about Adrian's reputation, the publicity photographs, the parking structure, the article knowing about the kiss, and now this. Not proof, not yet, but no longer paranoia either. Sloane lifted her chin. I have a scene. Rachel stepped aside. Then you should go. Sloane walked past her. After 3 steps, Rachel said, Sloane. She stopped. Rachel didn't turn around. You've been very interested in protecting me from Adrian. Silence. Rachel finally looked back. Maybe I should have been paying more attention to who was protecting me from you. Sloane's face went blank. Not wounded. Not offended. Blank. Then the stage doors opened, and people came into the hallway. The transformation was instantaneous. Sloane smiled. Perfect. Polished. Untouchable. Rachel, she said gently, loud enough for the approaching crew to hear, I know you're under a lot of pressure right now. There it was. Rachel almost admired the speed of it. Sloane had turned suspicion into instability in a single sentence. Rachel smiled back, warmly, professionally. I'm sure you do. Sloane held her gaze for 1 second longer, then walked onto the stage. Rachel remained in the hallway. Her heart was beating hard now, but she wasn't humiliated anymore. She was angry, and anger was useful. Sloane Carlyle had made a mistake, not because she had revealed everything, because she had revealed access. She knew information she should not have known, and when Rachel challenged her, Sloane hadn't reacted like an innocent woman confused by an accusation. She had reacted like an actress searching for the safest line. Rachel Westmoreland knew performances. She had built her career around making fiction survive close inspection. She knew the tiny differences between what was genuine and what had been carefully constructed. Sloane was constructing something. Rachel didn't know yet how far it went. She didn't know who Sloane was talking to. She didn't know whether Sloane herself had contacted the tabloid or whether someone else was doing it for her. But Rachel knew one thing now. The leak was not coming from some anonymous crew member gossiping over lunch. Someone with access was feeding the story, and Sloane Carlyle had just shown Rachel that she had more access than she was supposed to. Rachel looked toward the closed stage doors. For the first time since the article appeared, she didn't feel helpless. Good. The story wasn't finished, not even close. By 8 o'clock that evening, Rachel was sitting at Adrian Kwon's kitchen island, eating takeout with absolutely no idea what the food tasted like. She had ordered chicken. Probably. There was rice. She remembered seeing vegetables. Beyond that, the meal could have been packing material. Adrian sat across from her. He had been unusually quiet since she arrived. Rachel appreciated it. For approximately 12 minutes. Then it became irritating. "Say something." He looked up. "You told me not to fix it." "I did. So I'm attempting not to fix it." "You can speak without fixing." "I wasn't sure." Rachel put down her fork. "You're being very careful." "Yes. Stop." Adrian leaned back. "Rachel, I am trying extremely hard not to become another person telling you what you should do." That silenced her. She looked down at the food. "Thank you." "You're welcome." A few seconds passed. Then Adrian said, "I still want to break something." Rachel laughed. There he was. "Preferably not anything expensive." "Most things in this house are expensive." "Then control yourself." "I have insurance." Rachel smiled. The pressure in her chest eased slightly. His house was exactly what she would have expected, and somehow not what she expected at all. Beautiful, modern, glass, warm wood, expensive without screaming about it. But there were family photographs on the shelves, cookbooks with stained pages, a pair of running shoes near the back door, mail on the counter, a ceramic bowl that looked handmade and slightly crooked, evidence that somebody actually lived there. Adrian watched her. "What?" Rachel asked. "You're looking around." "I've never been here." "And?" "You own things." His eyebrows lifted. "An alarming discovery." "Normal things." "I have long maintained that I am a person." The jury was still out. He smiled. Rachel picked up her fork again, then put it down. "I may lose part of my department." Adrian's expression changed. There it was, the thing neither of them had said since she arrived. "Martin told you that?" "He said the studio is considering having someone else sign off on your wardrobe and makeup." Adrian's jaw tightened. "No." Rachel sighed. "Here we go." "No, Rachel." "Adrian, you warned me this would happen." "I know. And now it's happening." "Yes." "Because somebody lied about you." "Yes." "And somehow the solution is to take authority away from you." Rachel stared at him. "When you say it like that, it sounds unreasonable." "It is unreasonable. It is also corporate risk management. I don't care what they call it." "I do." His eyes narrowed. "Why?" "Because I have to keep working there after this." The anger left his face almost immediately. Rachel continued, "You can tell the studio to go to hell, and somebody will write that Adrian Kwon stood up for his principles." She gave him a tired smile. "If I tell the studio to go to hell, somebody replaces me by lunch." Adrian looked down. He hated that. Rachel could see it. He reached across the island and opened his hand. Rachel looked at it, then placed hers inside. His fingers closed around hers. No speech, no promise, just warmth. Rachel exhaled. "This is what I was afraid of." "I know. And the truly annoying part?" "What?" She looked at him. "I don't regret you." His face softened. Rachel laughed quietly. "I've tried." "Have you?" "Several times." "How did that go?" "Poorly." His thumb moved across the back of her hand. Rachel watched it. "Adrian." "If this gets worse—" "No." She looked up. "I haven't finished." "I know where you're going." "No, you don't. You're about to tell me we should stop seeing each other because somehow that will put your career back where it was before the article." Rachel said nothing. Adrian's expression softened. "Am I wrong?" "No." "Then I'm saying no in advance. You don't get to decide that alone. Neither do you." Rachel's eyebrows rose. "Excuse me?" "If you decide you don't want me, that's your decision." His voice remained calm. "If you decide the relationship isn't worth the risk, I have to accept that." Rachel listened. "But don't break up with me because some anonymous source decided your career matters less than mine." Her chest tightened. That sounds dangerously like we're in a relationship. Adrian's mouth curved. We've been holding hands and kissing in parking garages. Very compelling legal standard. I have more evidence. She smiled, then became serious again. I don't know what happens now. Neither do I. That answer helped more than reassurance would have. Rachel squeezed his hand. Adrian lifted it and pressed a kiss against her knuckles. Small, quiet, intimate. Rachel looked at him. This is how you get away with things. What? That face combined with behavior like that. He smiled. I thought it was my cooking. You didn't cook. I transferred the food onto plates. Heroic. The doorbell rang. Adrian frowned. Rachel immediately pulled her hand back. He noticed. That hurt more than she expected. His expression changed too. Neither commented. Adrian walked toward the entry. A moment later, Leah Morgan entered carrying a laptop and a thick folder. Rachel stood. That doesn't look social. It isn't. Leah placed both on the island. I thought you'd want this tonight. Rachel looked at the folder. What? Your contract. Rachel froze. Leah opened it, then laid another document beside it. And Adrian's. Adrian came around the island. Leah pointed. Rachel's department head agreement was executed April 9th. She moved to the second document. Adrian signed May 21st. Rachel stared. Leah looked directly at her. 6 weeks. Adrian's eyes moved to Rachel. She barely noticed. Her attention stayed on the dates. April 9th, May 21st. Physical, documented, unarguable. Rachel sat. So the entire claim that I took this job to get close to him is impossible. Leah nodded. You were already hired before the studio formally closed Adrian's deal. Rachel touched the edge of the paper. For the first time since the article appeared, she felt something solid beneath her feet. When do we release it? Tomorrow morning. Rachel looked up. Why not tonight? Legal is finalizing language. Martin is also pushing the network to issue the correction instead of making you defend yourself alone. Rachel blinked. Martin? He's angry. That meeting did not feel like anger. He's an executive producer. They express rage through conference calls. Adrian smiled faintly. Leah continued. The studio also backed off the reporting change. Rachel went still. What? They're not removing Adrian from your oversight. Relief hit so suddenly, Rachel had to sit with it. Leah smiled. Martin pointed out that changing your responsibilities after a demonstrably false article could look like the studio was validating the accusation. Rachel laughed. God bless corporate self-interest. It has occasional uses. Adrian leaned against the island. So we're done? Leah's expression became serious. No. Rachel already knew. The parking garage. Yes. Leah opened her laptop. The first article knowing about the kiss bothered me. The second article knowing internal production concerns bothered me more. Rachel looked at Adrian, then back at Leah. And? I've spent most of today talking to people. Did you find the leak? Not exactly. Rachel's shoulders dropped. But I found something interesting. Leah turned the laptop. An email sat on the screen. Sender information had been partially redacted. The message itself was short. Rachel read it. Crew concerns are growing. The relationship isn't as innocent as they're pretending. There was physical contact in the parking structure after hours. The studio may have to reconsider whether she should continue directly handling him. Rachel's skin went cold. When was that sent? Yesterday afternoon. Before the second article? 6 hours before. Who sent it? Leah closed the laptop slightly. I can't prove the person who sent this is Sloan. Rachel's heart beat harder. But? It came from an account associated with a boutique publicity firm. Adrian's expression sharpened. What firm? Leah looked at him. Brighton Cole. Adrian swore quietly. Rachel frowned. Who are they? Sloane's personal publicity firm. Silence. Rachel stared at Leah. That doesn't necessarily mean Sloan sent it. No. Her publicist could have acted independently. Yes. Someone in the office could have. Yes. Rachel stopped. Leah's expression was sympathetic. But it narrows the universe considerably. Adrian pushed away from the island. Call Sloan. Leah shook her head. No. Why? Because right now, we have enough to investigate. The minute we confront her, anything else disappears. Rachel looked at the email again. The parking garage, the studio reporting concern. Both. Her stomach turned. Who has this? Me, Martin, legal. Does Sloan know you found it? No. Rachel thought about their hallway conversation. I know you're under a lot of pressure right now. The perfectly calibrated sympathy, the precise language. Sloan had spent weeks using truth just carefully enough that Rachel couldn't accuse her of lying. Rachel closed the laptop. Don't tell her. Adrian looked at her. Rachel. No. She stood. She thinks I don't know. Leah studied her. That may be useful. It will be. Adrian looked less convinced. What are you planning? Nothing dramatic. That sentence concerns me. Rachel smiled without humor. I am going to work. The network statement went live at 7:02 the next morning. Rachel was already in makeup. Marisol stood beside her reading from the phone. Production records confirm Rachel Westmoreland was hired as makeup and wardrobe director 6 weeks before Adrian Kwon joined the project. She looked up. Oh, that's beautiful. Rachel kept arranging brushes. Continue. Marisol read. The network states that there is no evidence Ms. Westmoreland received her position through any relationship with Mr. Kwon and confirms she remains in full authority over her departments. Marisol lowered the phone. That's basically corporate for kiss our ass. Rachel smiled. Almost. People are already reposting it. Good. You should look. No. Rachel. No. She capped a bottle. I spent yesterday reading strangers discuss my morals. Today, I'm going to blend foundation. Marisol hugged her. Rachel stiffened, then hugged her back. Don't wrinkle me. You're wearing black. I can still wrinkle. Marisol stepped back. I'm proud of you. Rachel smiled. Thank you. A voice came from the doorway. Touching. Rachel's smile vanished. Sloan. She walked into the room wearing sunglasses and a pale camel coat. Good morning. Rachel's voice was perfectly neutral. Morning. Sloan removed her sunglasses. I saw the statement. Most people have. I'm glad. Rachel looked at her. Sloan's expression was warm, believable. I mean it. Thank you. Sloan sat in the chair. Rachel began preparing her skin. This was the strange part. Whatever Rachel thought Sloan had done, the work still had to happen. Rachel clipped the actress's blonde hair away from her face. Sloan watched her through the mirror. At least the 6-week timeline kills the worst accusation. Rachel's hand stopped, only for a fraction of a second, then continued. Yes. Sloan smiled slightly. That's lucky. Rachel's pulse slowed, not sped, slowed. She became very calm. Is it? I mean lucky that the paperwork is so clear. Rachel applied moisturizer along Sloan's forehead. The paperwork hasn't been released. Sloan's eyes shifted toward hers in the mirror. Rachel continued softly. The network statement only says I was hired before Adrian. Silence. Marisol stopped moving at the counter. Rachel watched Sloan's face. You said 6 weeks. Sloan recovered quickly. The articles said, no. Rachel smiled gently. They didn't. Sloan's eyes cooled. Rachel could almost see the calculation begin. She kept working. Interesting. Sloan shifted in the chair. Maybe I heard someone say it. Maybe. Rachel reached for foundation. Who? I don't remember. Of course. Rachel. Look up. Sloan did, automatically. Rachel almost appreciated the irony. She blended beneath Sloan's eye. Do you know what I love about continuity? Sloan didn't answer. Rachel continued. Tiny details. Rachel, most people don't notice them. Her voice remained soft. A button moves. A bracelet changes wrists. A glass suddenly has more water than it had 30 seconds earlier. Sloane's jaw tightened. Rachel set down the sponge. But that's the whole job, remembering what was there before. Their eyes met in the mirror. And what wasn't? Sloane turned slightly. Are you accusing me of something? No, Rachel smiled. Not yet. The room became silent. Sloane stood. I think someone else can finish. Rachel stepped back. Of course. Sloane grabbed her coat. At the doorway, she stopped. This is exactly why people are concerned about you. Rachel looked at her. What does that mean? You're emotional. Rachel almost laughed. There it was, again. Sloane continued. You're letting a relationship affect how you behave professionally. Marisol's eyes widened. Rachel remained completely still. Then she smiled. Sloane. What? You came into my department. Yes. You sat in my chair. Yes. I performed my job. Sloane didn't answer. And now you're leaving because I asked how you knew confidential information. Rachel tilted her head. Which one of us is being emotional? Sloane's face hardened. For the first time, there was no smile, no polish, no performance, just anger. You really think you're special? Rachel blinked. There it was. Finally. Sloane laughed once. You think because he's fascinated with you now, this is different. Rachel stared. He gets fascinated. Marisol didn't move. Neither did Rachel. Sloane continued. Camille thought it was different too. Rachel's stomach tightened, but she didn't give Sloane the reaction. Not anymore. Instead, she asked quietly, Is that why you did it? Sloane froze. Rachel took one step closer. Because you thought I needed to learn my place before Adrian did it for me? Sloane's expression shifted. Too late. Rachel saw it. You don't know what you're talking about. Then tell me. Sloane said nothing. Rachel's voice softened. You could have simply told him you wanted him. That struck harder than anything else. Sloane's face changed. Rachel understood. Oh. She almost felt sorry for her. Almost. He didn't want you. Be careful. Sloane, this stopped being about him the moment you attacked my career. I did not attack your career. Then who did? Silence. Rachel waited. Sloane's eyes moved toward Marisol, then back. I told someone I knew. Rachel's breath stopped. There. Not a denial. Marisol whispered, Oh my God. Rachel held up one hand without looking at her. Sloane's voice became defensive. I told someone in publicity that Adrian was seeing someone from the crew. Rachel stared. I didn't write the article. No. I didn't tell them to say you got the job because of him. But you gave them me. Sloane looked away. Rachel felt something inside her crack. Not because she was surprised, because hearing it was different. You told them about the parking garage. Sloane didn't answer. That was you. I said I'd seen you together. Rachel laughed quietly. That was enough. I didn't know they would turn it into that. You work in this industry. Sloane looked at her. Rachel's voice hardened. Don't insult me. Sloane swallowed. I was angry. Because? You know why. Rachel stared. No. Say it. Sloane's eyes filled, not with tears exactly, but humiliation. Because I wanted him. Rachel nodded slowly. And he wanted me. Sloane flinched. Rachel didn't enjoy it. That surprised her. She just felt tired. Sloane said, Everybody expected us to happen. Except Adrian. Silence. And instead of being angry with him, Rachel said, you decided I was easier. Sloane looked away. Rachel understood that answer too. The stage door opened. Martin Hale entered with Leah behind him. Sloane went pale. Rachel looked from them to Marisol. Marisol held up her phone. I texted Martin when she said she told someone. Sloane stared at her. Marisol shrugged. Continuity. Rachel nearly laughed. Martin closed the door. Sloane. Her entire posture changed. Movie star again. Sloane, we need to talk. She looked at Rachel. For 1 second, something passed between them. Anger, embarrassment, maybe regret. Rachel couldn't tell. Then Sloane picked up her sunglasses. I'll speak with my attorney. Leah nodded. That would be appropriate. Sloane walked out. The door closed. Rachel stood very still. It was over. Not all of it. But the question, the wondering, the suspicion. Over. Adrian appeared in the doorway 30 seconds later. Rachel looked at Leah. You called him? No. Adrian walked in. People talk. Rachel laughed. It came out halfway between laughter and a sob. Adrian crossed the room. This time Rachel didn't care who saw. She stepped into him. His arms closed around her. Rachel pressed her face against his chest and finally allowed herself to stop holding everything up. Not crying, not quite, just breathing. Adrian rested his cheek against the top of her short hair. You were right. Rachel's eyes closed. About? Sloane. No. Rachel shook her head against him. I wish I hadn't been. His arms tightened. Rachel stood there for several seconds, then stepped back. She looked around. Martin, Leah, Marisol, Adrian, her department, her career, still hers. Rachel wiped carefully beneath one eye. All right, Adrian frowned. All right what? We have a show to make. Martin laughed softly. Marisol shook her head. Adrian stared at her. Rachel smiled. What? You're unbelievable. No. She picked up her makeup brush. I'm employed. That made him laugh. And for the first time since the story broke, Rachel did too. By noon, Sloane Carlyle was gone from the studio. Not fired, not officially. The language was far more elegant than that. She had been placed on a temporary production leave while the studio reviewed communications between her publicity team and the entertainment outlet that had published the stories about Rachel. Hollywood could make almost anything sound civilized. Rachel stood inside wardrobe reading the email twice. Production will continue with adjustments to the shooting schedule. Adjustments. That meant every scene requiring Sloane would be pushed. Scripts would be rearranged, locations moved, guest actors rescheduled. Hundreds of people would spend the next several days solving a problem created because one woman couldn't handle being rejected. Rachel lowered the phone. Marisol stood across from her. Well? Leave. Marisol's eyes widened. They suspended her? Temporarily. That's corporate for don't come back until legal figures out how expensive you are to fire. Rachel gave her a look. What? You have become disturbingly cynical. I work in television. Rachel couldn't argue with that. Marisol came closer. How do you feel? Rachel considered it. Relieved. That's it? No. She set the phone down. Angry, embarrassed, tired. Good list. And I feel bad. Marisol stared. For Sloane? Not exactly. Because I was about to arrange an intervention. Rachel smiled. For the show. That was the part people outside production would never understand. Sloane had hurt Rachel, but Sloane was also good at her job. Very good. Her absence affected everyone. Rachel hated that too. Marisol leaned against the counter. She did this. I know. You didn't. I know. Say it like you believe it. Rachel looked at her. Marisol waited. Rachel sighed. I did not do this. Again. You're annoying. Again. Rachel smiled despite herself. I did not do this. Good. A knock sounded against the open doorway. Adrian. Marisol looked from him to Rachel. I'm leaving. Rachel frowned. You work here. Suddenly, I have responsibilities elsewhere. You're terrible. I learned from the best. She disappeared. Adrian stepped inside. Rachel folded her arms. Everybody keeps abandoning me when you arrive. They respect my privacy. They're nosy. Also true. He approached. Rachel immediately noticed his expression. Too serious. What happened? The studio wants to release another statement. About Sloan? And you. Rachel's shoulders tightened. Adrian held out his phone. Rachel read. The statement confirmed that the network's internal review had found no professional misconduct by Rachel and no evidence that her relationship with Adrian had influenced her hiring, department decisions, or treatment of cast. It also confirmed that information contained in the tabloid articles had originated through a representative connected to another cast member. No name. Not yet. Rachel looked up. They're clearing me. Yes. Something strange happened inside her. She had wanted this, needed it. And now that the words existed, they didn't erase what had happened. Adrian seemed to understand. You don't look happy. I am. But? Rachel gave him the phone. I hate that I needed strangers to announce that I'm competent. His expression softened. I know. They don't know anything about the years before this show. No. The jobs nobody saw, the assistants I worked under, the commercials, the films where I brought my own supplies because production couldn't afford enough. Adrian listened. Rachel laughed quietly. And some tabloid gets to ask whether I belong here. He stepped closer. They asked. She looked at him. They were wrong. Rachel held his gaze. A month ago, Adrian would have said something charming, maybe promised to make somebody regret it. Now he simply stood there. That was one of the things she'd started loving about him. Rachel's breath caught at the thought. Loving. She looked away, too fast. Adrian noticed. What? Nothing. That's never true. She smiled faintly. Don't start. His eyes narrowed. What just happened? Adrian. Rachel. She laughed. Go to set. Not until you tell me. You are extremely spoiled. I've been famous a long time. That is not an excuse. It explains a lot. Rachel shook her head. Then her smile faded. I realized something. He waited. This man had become unexpectedly good at waiting. Rachel looked at him. You aren't who I thought you were. Adrian's expression changed. Good or bad? Mostly good. I'll take mostly. She stepped closer. You know what I thought? What? I thought you were going to chase me until I said yes. His mouth curved. I did. No. Rachel shook her head. You chased me until I paid attention. Adrian became still. Then you changed. Rachel reached up and smoothed an imaginary wrinkle from his shirt. You stopped trying to impress me. That sounds inaccurate. You know what I mean. He did. His smile disappeared. Rachel continued quietly. You listened when I told you what I was afraid of. I didn't prevent it. No. Rachel, you couldn't. She looked up at him. But when it happened, you didn't make it about you. Adrian's eyes softened. You didn't turn it into some grand public rescue. You wouldn't let me. I know. That made him smile. Rachel rested her hand against his chest. And you stayed. His expression changed completely. There it was. The thing underneath all the charm, all the confidence, the thing Rachel had begun recognizing as the real Adrian. You expected me to leave? No. She thought about it. Maybe part of me did. Adrian covered her hand with his. I'm still here. I know. Rachel smiled. That may be the problem. The problem? I'm running out of reasons not to trust you. His half-smile appeared. I have been working very hard. She laughed. I know. He lowered his head slightly. Are we at work? Yes. Unfortunately. Rachel smiled. No kissing. Your rules are oppressive. You'll survive. Adrian glanced toward the open doorway, then back at her. Dinner tonight? Rachel raised an eyebrow. You ask me that a lot. And yet you keep saying yes. Cocky. Accurate. Rachel considered him. Your place. His expression warmed. 8? 7:30. Look who's negotiating in my direction. Don't ruin it. I wouldn't dare. The second network statement went live at 2. By 3, the story had changed. Rachel didn't read everything. She had learned that lesson. But she saw enough. Network clears department head in Adrian Kwon. Romance controversy. Production records contradict claims against Rachel Westmoreland. Source of Kwon's story linked to co-star's publicity team. Her name was finally appearing beside her actual title. That mattered more than she wanted to admit. At 4:15, Martin Hale came into wardrobe. Rachel looked up. Am I being summoned? No. That's promising. He smiled. I wanted to tell you myself. Rachel waited. The network has formally closed the review into your department. She exhaled. Okay. No reporting change, no restrictions, nothing goes in your file. Rachel nodded. Martin continued. And they've extended your department head option through next season. Her eyes widened. What? If we renew. Martin. Which we almost certainly will. Rachel stared at him. He smiled. Congratulations. For several seconds she couldn't speak. Then, thank you. You earned it. That sentence nearly did what the tabloid couldn't. Rachel blinked rapidly. Martin pretended not to notice. Professional courtesy. I also owe you an apology. You don't. I do. Rachel looked at him. When this happened, my first reaction was protecting the production. That's your job. Yes. His expression hardened. But I considered limiting your authority before I had evidence you'd done anything wrong. Rachel said nothing. Martin nodded. That was wrong. It would have been easy to make him suffer. Rachel didn't need to. Thank you. He extended his hand. She took it. Now please keep my actors' clothes on them. Rachel laughed. I'll do my best. Adrian cooked. Actually cooked. Rachel stood at his kitchen island watching him and resenting the fact that he had apparently told the truth. He wore black trousers and a dark gray t-shirt, sleeves pushed slightly up his forearms. Rachel had changed after work into soft, wide-leg pants and a fitted rust-colored top. Bronze cuffs circled one wrist. Her cowrie shell pendant rested at her throat. She watched Adrian taste something from a wooden spoon. This is disappointing. He looked over. What? You can cook. I told you. I preferred believing you couldn't. Why? It made you more human. I wash dishes too. Now you're showing off. He smiled. Rachel looked around the kitchen. No assistants, no publicists, no call sheets, no Sloan, just them. Adrian placed 2 bowls on the island. Try it. Rachel did, then stopped. He watched her carefully. She chewed. His eyes narrowed. What does that mean? Rachel took another bite. Acceptable. Rachel. Competent. I cooked for 2 hours. Solid effort. He stared. Rachel broke. Oh my God, it's delicious. Adrian smiled broadly. There. You are incredibly needy. I needed the truth. She laughed. They ate at the island. Halfway through dinner, Adrian's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, then turned it face down. Rachel noticed. You can answer. No. Important? My publicist. That sounds important. She has been important for 17 years. And? I'm having dinner with you. Rachel looked at him. There were moments with Adrian that felt cinematic. The first kiss, the restaurant lights, the parking garage. This wasn't one of them. A phone turned face down on a kitchen counter. Ordinary, small. It affected her more than it should have. You don't have to do that. I know. There it was again. Choice. Rachel looked down at her food. Adrian studied her. What? She sighed. I don't know how to do this. Eat? Us. His expression softened. Good. Rachel frowned. Good? I don't either. You've dated half of Hollywood. Again, Mathematically impossible. Adrian, he smiled. I've dated. Yes. That doesn't mean I've done this. Rachel stared at him. This? He leaned back. Whatever we're doing. That is remarkably vague. I know. Very reassuring. He laughed softly, then became serious. I've always known what I wanted from relationships. Rachel listened. And now? Adrian looked at her. Now what I want keeps changing. Her stomach tightened. In what direction? More. One word. No smile. Rachel went still. Adrian continued. A month ago, I wanted you to have dinner with me. She smiled faintly. I remember. Then I wanted you to trust me enough for another. Rachel's eyes softened. Then I wanted you to stop looking at every past relationship like evidence against me. You were very unsuccessful there. I noticed. She smiled. Adrian's gaze didn't leave hers. Now I want to know what your house looks like. Rachel blinked. What? I've never been there. No. I want to meet your mother. Her expression changed. I want to know your brother. Adrian. I want to see the fabric you won't cut because it belonged to your grandmother. Rachel's breath caught. He remembered. Of course he remembered. Adrian continued quietly. I want you here when I don't have a reason to invite you. Rachel couldn't speak. I want my sister to meet you. His voice became almost amused. She already knows far too much about you. Rachel laughed softly through the pressure building behind her eyes. And I don't know exactly when that happened. Adrian looked down for a moment, then back at her. But I know I don't want less. Rachel stared. Everything she had feared about him had been built around leaving. His history, his reputation, the women, the articles. She had been waiting for Adrian to convince her he would stay. She hadn't noticed when he'd started building a future aloud. Rachel got up. Adrian watched her walk around the island. She stopped directly in front of him. He turned on the stool. What? Rachel touched his face. The same face she had powdered at 5 a.m, the same jaw she had held while telling him to look left, the same man she had been trying not to see. You finally got my undivided attention. Adrian smiled slowly. I noticed. Rachel kissed him. No parking garage, no stage door, no fear that someone was watching. Adrian stood and pulled her gently closer. Rachel's arms slid around his neck. The kiss deepened. Warm, familiar, safe. That last realization stopped her. Adrian felt it. He pulled back immediately. What? Rachel looked at him. Nothing's wrong. You stopped. She smiled. I know. His hand rested lightly at her waist. Rachel took a breath. I trust you. Adrian became completely still. Of all the things she could have said, that was the one that hit him. Rachel saw it. He lowered his forehead against hers. That's bigger than I love you right now. Rachel's eyes opened. Adrian froze, then closed his eyes. Rachel slowly smiled. Interesting. He lifted his head. That came out wrong. No, it did. You said love. I said Adrian Kwon. He looked almost uncomfortable. Rachel had never seen it. It was delightful. You love me? Adrian stared at her. Rachel's smile faded when she saw his answer before he gave it. Yes. Simple. Certain. No performance. Her heart turned over. But the feeling that followed wasn't simple at all. Rachel stopped breathing. For weeks, she had imagined every possible way this could go wrong. Adrian getting bored. Adrian realizing the chase had been more interesting than having her. Adrian eventually looking at another woman with the same fascination he'd once directed toward Rachel. A photograph, a headline, a polite conversation about how much he'd enjoyed their time together. She had prepared herself for all of it. What she had never prepared for was Adrian Kwon standing in his kitchen, looking almost vulnerable because he had accidentally admitted he loved her. Rachel searched his face. You're serious? It wasn't a question. Adrian's brow furrowed slightly. Yes. No. She shook her head. I mean really serious. I know what you mean. His voice was gentle. Yes, Rachel. Something inside her gave way. Not dramatically. There were no fireworks, no sweeping music, just an exhaustion she hadn't realized she'd been carrying. The constant measuring, the watching, the waiting for evidence that this would eventually become what every other relationship in his life had become. Past tense. Rachel looked away because suddenly her eyes were burning. Hey. Adrian's hand moved toward her face. Rachel caught his wrist before he could touch her, not rejecting him, steadying herself. Give me a second. He went still. All right. Of course he did. No pressure. No demand that she reassure him. Just Adrian waiting. And somehow that made the emotion worse. Rachel laughed shakily. You really have terrible timing. His mouth twitched. I've gathered. I spent weeks convincing myself not to fall in love with you. Adrian stopped breathing. Rachel heard what she'd said a second after it left her mouth. Her eyes widened. Oh. Now he was staring. Rachel closed her eyes. Well, Rachel, don't. I know what I just said. His face was changing. That smile, slow and stunned and entirely too happy. Rachel pointed at him. Do not look that pleased. I am trying very hard. You're failing. Completely. She laughed, but a tear slipped free anyway. Rachel immediately wiped it away. Adrian's smile disappeared. His expression softened so completely that she almost cried again. Come here. Rachel hesitated only a second. Then she went. Adrian wrapped his arms around her. Rachel pressed her face against his chest. For once, she wasn't thinking about being careful. She wasn't calculating consequences. She wasn't remembering Camille or Sloane or every magazine cover that had taught her Adrian Kwon eventually moved on. She was standing in his kitchen listening to his heartbeat beneath her ear. And she loved him. The realization wasn't new. That was what stunned her. The feeling had been there already, quietly accumulating, in coffees delivered before dawn, in the dinner he left for her without expecting anything in return, in the way he remembered her grandmother's fabric, the way he'd asked before kissing her, the way he'd accepted every boundary she gave him, even when he didn't like it, the way he'd stayed beside her when the scandal became exactly as ugly as she'd predicted, the way he'd never once asked her to sacrifice her career to make loving him easier. Rachel had been waiting for some dramatic moment when she would suddenly know. There wasn't one. There were dozens of small ones. She simply hadn't named them. Adrian's hand moved slowly over her back. Rachel whispered against his chest. This is terrifying. His arms tightened. I know. She pulled back enough to see him. No, I don't think you do. Then tell me. Rachel looked into his eyes. I know how to lose something I never trusted. His expression changed. She continued softly. If I keep telling myself you're temporary, then when you leave, I get to say I knew better. Adrian said nothing. But if I believe this, her voice caught, if I believe you love me, then I have something to lose. Adrian touched her cheek. You already do. Rachel closed her eyes. Damn him. She leaned into his palm. I know. He didn't promise he would never hurt her, didn't swear that nothing could ever happen. Rachel would have distrusted either one. Instead, he said, So do I. Her eyes opened. Adrian smiled faintly. You think you're the only one taking a risk? Rachel stared at him. That had genuinely never occurred to her. Not fully. She had been so consumed by everything Adrian could do to her life that she hadn't considered what giving himself to her might cost him emotionally. He was the experienced one, the bachelor, the man who always walked away. She had mistaken experience for invulnerability. Adrian brushed his thumb beneath her eye. I love you. This time he said it deliberately. No accidental confession, no awkward recovery, just the words. Rachel felt them settle. She took a shaky breath, then smiled. I love you too. Adrian went completely still. Rachel laughed softly. Now who's having trouble? I wasn't expecting that yet. Neither was I. His forehead lowered to hers. You're sure? Rachel looked at him. There was something almost absurdly tender about Adrian Kwon, the man who had walked into her department completely certain he could get her attention, needing reassurance now that he finally had her heart. She touched his jaw, the familiar shape beneath her fingers. I'm sure. His eyes closed briefly. Rachel smiled. But? His eyes opened. There is a but? There is always a but. He sighed. Of course. I love you. His expression softened again. And I am still scared. Adrian nodded. Okay. You don't get to charm that away. I know. You don't get to tell me everything will be perfect. I wouldn't. And I may occasionally lose my mind when some gorgeous actress from your past appears in a headline. His mouth twitched. I look forward to it. Rachel narrowed her eyes. Wrong answer. He laughed. She did too. Then Rachel became serious. But I'm done pretending fear means I don't want this. Adrian's laughter faded. Rachel slipped her arms around his neck. I want you. His hands settled at her waist. I want us. The smile that appeared on his face was different from every smile she'd seen on magazine covers. Rachel knew because she had studied those too. This one wasn't for anyone else. That's all I needed, he said. Rachel shook her head. No. What? That's all you're getting tonight. He laughed. Bossy. Employed. That made him laugh harder. Rachel kissed him before he could answer. And this time when Adrian pulled her close, Rachel didn't feel as though she were surrendering something. She felt as though she were choosing it. Thank you so much for staying with us until the end. I hope that you enjoyed our story. I know it was long, so if you stayed for the entire thing, I am truly appreciative. Please like, subscribe, and check out other stories on my channel.